Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Hey, it's 10 a.m. and this is Utah's best sports radio.
Say my name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. How are you, sir?
What's going on, my guy?
Let's do it.
We made it to Wednesday already.
We gotta have a conversation here, though. What you're wearing right now should be in a frame, in like a cryovac frame, not on your body, not on your person right now.
Why? It's just a...
You've got a Celtics warm-up jacket or warm-up jersey. Yeah, with owned by Larry Bird, signed by Larry Bird. Hold on, I got to take a picture of this and send it out on the old Twitter account. Hold on. All right. Now turn around. Let me get the front view here. All right. Okay.
They say the back's better anyhow, in my view.
Yeah.
The face gets involved. It's a little startling, but
I think people need to see the full picture because it's like this is a real deal here, man.
Yeah, I bought this years and years ago, but I don't hang stuff. I wear it now and again.
What were you wearing? Oh, you were wearing the Sammy Hagar shirt yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm just messing around with some of the cool stuff I've collected through the years.
Oh, that feels like it should be worth a lot of money, or could be worth a lot of money.
Would Lloyd be honking me?
No, I don't think so. Well, Lloyd would probably honk.
Let's give a ceremonial honk just for the hell of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him doing that just because he wants to get under your skin a little bit, but still. My goodness, man, that's history right there. You're wearing.
Yes, it is. I love it. I love everything about it. It's going to go through the family. My son will get it after me.
Yeah.
If it's still there.
If it's still, you're not running it through the washer.
No.
Okay.
And I don't. I did wear it on stage one time and sweat in it a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's just look, Larry probably sweat in it too. So you're just mixing sweat with Larry Bird.
So it's all good. But yeah, man, Wednesday's here. Wednesday, it seems to be just like the gate to the weekend.
Yes.
To me. You hit Wednesday and you're rolling.
Tomorrow we will be down at BYU football kickoff golf tournament, and we'll have all kinds of fun down there. That's going to be a blast.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hang with them. Last time we saw all those guys was in Dallas.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to catch up.
Plus, everybody gets to knock on each other for their bad golf swing, so it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely will be in the running for the worst swing.
I doubt that. I still think you're a ringer. I've not golfed with you. I still think you're going to be a ringer.
Well, you'll be disappointed because that is one thing I'm not.
I don't know, Alex. What do you think? You think he's a ringer?
I think he's a little bit better than he's leading on.
Yeah, I do too.
But I'm no ringer. I promise you.
Look, guys, I'm terrible. Let's just let's go $100 a hole.
We'll find out tomorrow.
No, that's the other thing. I don't bet on golf either because I'm not good enough. That's a bad investment.
Yeah, that's one where. Because I have not gotten to the point with my game at any point where I feel comfortable going a significant amount of money per hole because that just leads to me playing worse.
I'm the kind of guy when the bet thing comes up with the other three, and I'm just like, they start setting it, and I start figuring out, okay, if I lose every hole, I will be in it this much.
Yes.
I mean, because I don't ever think I'm going to win. I just am not a good golfer. I'm not a steady, solid, consistent golfer.
So there is a guy you need to keep an eye on, and you met him at the barbecue, but he is our boss, David Pierce.
Is he something else?
And I think David tries to slow play it a little bit, that he, I'm not very good. And then he'll list the courses he's played, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're pretty good. So if he gets you out on a course, which he's invited us a bunch of times, and it's like when my dad, for Mother's Day once, gave my mom a bunch of like gift certificates for house cleaning, right? So she was going to have a house cleaner come in. Well, the problem is that my mom was so paranoid about how her house looked.
She had to clean it first.
She had to clean it before the house cleaners came.
Yeah, my mom's the same.
And so that's how I am with my golf game. Like, I don't want to play golf with anybody until I get my golf game to where I feel like I can at least be somewhat respectable. And that costs me a lot of rounds out there because I end up just not going. So I just need to bite the bullet and just go play golf. But I also feel like, look, I talk sports on the radio. I should be pretty good at golf. So I don't want people to see me taking a swing and sending it 3 fairways over.
There's nothing worse. Like, people have these charity tournaments, you go and the golfer's not necessarily great, but they're the first tee ball.
Yeah.
And I just think, man, I'm so glad. Can you imagine? Because I
No.
have a hard time teeing off in front of the other 3,
let
alone 70 guys standing there. So
there's nothing worse than when y'all get done and the guy goes, well, we got 3 good drives. And then everybody looks at you like, look, I know.
Which one do I hit? Which one of these do I use to drive with? That's where I'm at in the game. The big one? Oh, the big one. Okay. I'll use that.
We've told you about our scramble with Bob Casper.
I know. I'd love to hear it. Did Hans play in it?
Yeah, Hans, myself, and Lloyd.
Hans is pretty good, right?
Hans is pretty good. Lloyd's pretty good. I wasn't as good as those 2, but I was hanging in there at that point. And so it was 3 of us playing best ball versus Bob straight up. And Bob still beat us by like 5 or 6 strokes.
Does he have one of those pendulum swings?
Oh, it's so... And
he just set a...
And the thing is, it looks so like fluid. Like he's putting no effort into it. And that ball just launches off his club. And it's just like, how, like that looked like a half swing. And just like straight as an arrow, just boom.
I talked the other day about Taysom Hill and how long he can hit a golf ball. The best swing of any of those guys I hung around down at BYU, I guess it was probably a tie. I used to put them against each other. It's Dave Rice, our assistant. His swing is immaculate.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then Robbie Bosco.
Well, Robbie.
President Bosco.
Robbie spends a lot of time on that course.
Well, he's been in fundraising, right?
Yeah,
so that's what you do. He golfs. I think Lee Johnson just goes around and sets fires everywhere, Yeah,
I could see that.
Lee's the crazy one of the group. But Robbie had the golf game. Robbie's smooth as can be.
So Robbie better than Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee hits the ball like he punted. He definitely gets it.
Yeah.
But if I'm going with somebody that I'm gonna stake my claim to this guy.
Good short game.
Good everything. This guy's, what is it? In golf, it would be a 3-way player, tees, fairways, and greens.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
Okay. All right. Busy day. Once again, as always, Lloyd Cole, once again, as always, on vacation. So we got a busy show. Let's get to it. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to kick off the show with the biggest headlines of the day. This is your starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is your starting lineup here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I thought we'd have a little fun today and talk a little National Football League because every camp is underway, and now we are looking at who we expect to be pretty good this year, who we expect to be okay, and who we expect to be just absolutely in the doldrums. I'm looking at you, Buffalo, as this feels like the Buffalo Bills year. And Alex, I want you to jump in on this too, because I know you're an NFL honk like all of us. But to me, it looks like if I'm Buffalo, if I'm a fan of the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen doing his thing as always, you got a brand new stadium, you got all these expectations, it's either put up or shut up this year with Buffalo. And it feels like after they flamed out in the playoffs in Denver last year, that now the expectation is playoff or bust for Buffalo. Because if they don't get there this year, I don't know if they're capable of getting there ever. And if he wants to be considered one of the greatest to ever play the game, he's got to cement a little bit of a legacy by playing in the big game. And that, to me, is where I start in the AFC, is with Buffalo. And then it's a big mash of players mash of teams after that. But it all starts with them. Can they get over the hump this year? That's the $1 million question.
It really is. And the stage is set. You mentioned the new stadium, which looks incredible.
Still outdoors.
Yeah, I know. As you mentioned, they did not put a top on it, so everybody will have to volunteer their hours during the week to shovel the stadium still.
Would you do that if they gave you tickets to a playoff game?
I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the experience of it.
If people don't know, a lot of times what they'll do when the snow really comes down, they'll put a plea out to the community and say, bring a shovel, help us clear out the stadium, and we'll give you a pair of Upper Bowl playoff tickets. And people just show up in droves.
With shovels.
With shovels, yeah.
I think I would probably do it one time, but I would be one of those that found, the bathrooms and things like that with my shovel.
Oh, guys, I'll be right back.
Last night I had some Mexican food. It's just killing me.
Just running right through me.
I'll be right back. You guys keep going.
2 hours later. Oh, wow, you guys made a lot of progress.
Have they handed the tickets out yet by chance? That'd be me.
Yeah, same, by the way. So you got Buffalo, as you mentioned, that brand new stadium. And where are you at on Josh Allen? He's a great fantasy quarterback, but do you trust him in a big game?
Well, I mean, he's had plenty of opportunities and hasn't been able to get over the hump. And you start to wonder if maybe it's just in the water in Buffalo.
Oh yeah,
all those years with Marv Levy, just getting so close, never been able to get it done. The great Thurman Thomas. Think about the games that he had in the Super Bowl.
Andre Reed.
But it just takes one. I was a Red Sox fan forever. I went through all of that. You were a Cubs fan forever. And all it does, it just takes one, and you kind of get the stink off. And that's what they need to do. I think they're set up to do it. And I think Josh Allen can do it. I mean, I do believe in the failed attempts, it hasn't always necessarily been his issue.
Yeah, that game in Kansas City
where they had it.
They had it. It was there for the taking.
And then they put like 7 guys on defense.
Yeah, and their defense gives up a bunch of yards. They kick a field goal, send it into overtime, and the game's over.
I mean, I thought that was it. I thought they had it. So really, really close. I think he's made of the right stuff. A Western kid, tough dude. And I would actually welcome it.
I would too.
I would welcome it. I'd cheer. There are teams I'd cheer against in the NFL for different reasons, but the Bills they're easy to cheer for.
So then you make the next jump to, all right, so there's Buffalo at this level, and then I think you go to the next tier, and in that will be my Denver Broncos, who, look, if Bo Nix stays healthy, and I know we joke a lot, but had he stayed healthy, not broken his ankle, there's probably a good chance that they beat New England in that AFC Championship game that following week. Instead, he's hurt. They throw in some shoe clerk. He can't get it done, and Patriots go on to the Super Bowl. Either team, I think, was going to get annihilated by the Seahawks in that Super Bowl. And so maybe Nix did Denver a favor by not getting embarrassed in the Super Bowl by a really good Seattle team. But I look at the Broncos adding Jalen Waddle. They do lose a little bit on defense, but I don't think that they'll have that same great record that they had last year. But I do think they're a team that probably, depending on the Mahomes injury and how quickly he comes back, probably repeats as AFC West title. Now, you got the Chargers and you got the Chiefs and your Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders aren't quite ready.
The Raiders are going to be better. Like, again, we joke around.
We're taking steps up.
Raiders are going to be better. There's no doubt. The Chargers, I just can't trust them. The Chiefs, if Mahomes is healthy, which is a big if, I think it's probably their division. If he starts week 1 and he's 85%, then Kansas City will win that division. But if he's not, then I'll take Denver to win that division. But it's probably one of your toughest divisions in all of football because the Raiders are going to be better and cause problems for everybody.
They really are. That one, you look at it, I mean, the Chargers are an issue. And as you said, the Raiders probably pick up a couple more wins this year and cause some issues to those teams contending. But I think the way I've got it, Buffalo in the East, Cincinnati in the North, Houston in the South,
love it,
and the Broncos.
That brings me to Cincinnati because if I look at a team, and I'm glad you bring them up, if I look at a team that I feel like is poised to really take the next step in terms of being right there with Buffalo, Denver's got to show a little bit more consistency. They got to show a little bit more health at quarterback. And I'll be the first to admit they lucked into a lot of wins last year. Like, the football gods smiled on them in a big way. You go back and watch that Giants game. There's no way they should have won that game.
Right.
So they had a little bit of the good fortune last year. Cincinnati, if they can find a way to keep Joe Burrow upright.
That's the $1 million. That's their either make or break.
Yeah. If he stays upright, then Cincinnati is just as good as Buffalo.
I
If not
agree.
better.
I agree. I mean, you look at the weapons they have, the receivers, of course, Chase and Higgins, Gesicki at the tight end, and then they've got a solid line. I mean, I do think it offensively for sure. Burrow can stay healthy. I think they do. You know, he's been right there, and he's been a guy like from the very beginning. But like we talk about, it's hard to stay healthy in the NFL as a quarterback.
Well, especially when you have Swiss cheese for an offensive line.
Right. And so I think they've addressed some things. I think their defense will be good enough. So if he can stay healthy, that's the big caveat there.
So the storylines in the AFC, probably number one, where's Patrick Mahomes? Because Kansas City paints this beautiful picture of him being ready to go. And you can be ready to go, but you also could not be ready to go. Physically, you might be getting the green light, but mentally, it's just really hard to come back from an injury like that when you've been Superman your whole life, and then all of a sudden you had to go through crazy rehab. You didn't go through your normal spring and summer preparations that you normally do. I've just seen it with too many quarterbacks where they just don't come back and look the same. If anybody can pull it off, it's going to be Mahomes. But that's the biggest question in the AFC is the injury to Patrick Mahomes. If he comes back healthy, if he starts the season even at 85 or 90%, Kansas City's going to do what they normally do, and they'll be great. The next question is, can Joe Burrow stay upright? That's a huge question. And then Bo Nix's injury is probably number 3 on my list. And then number 4 is Josh Allen ready to just be the alpha of the entire conference and say, look, get on my shoulders. We're going to a Super Bowl. I don't care anymore. We're going to get it done.
Well, my favorite thing about the AFC for the last couple of years has been who can beat Kansas City. You know, they're going to be the one. But now we've got that group of 5 or 6 teams that can do. You know, they can do it. They're good enough to represent the AFC, and that's, to me, that's what is exciting about the upcoming season. It's not going to be a foregone conclusion, and a guy like Mahomes, who has been incredible, is going to be facing a challenge unlike, anything he's faced before. So that will maybe even the deck for everybody else. Who do you feel like is the best coach in the AFC? I mean, it's a hard one.
It is a hard one. You know who I actually – well, I got to give it to Andy Reid just because of consistency and what he's done. I love – and I know he made a lot of offseason headlines, but if I needed a coach tomorrow for my team for one game and I needed my team to be tough, prepared, angry, and ready to go through a wall, Mike Vrabel is always going to be my guy. And I get it. I get it. Mike's a little.
You're not talking about anything football, right?
No,
here.
I'm just talking football.
Right.
I'm not talking about
HR stuff.
The HR stuff.
If we need the HR, we'll bring in somebody.
Yeah.
But right now we're talking football.
Just talking. I love Mike Vrabel, and we haven't brought up Drake May. I think Drake's going to have another great year. I think he'll probably be in the MVP conversation. New England's going to give Buffalo. I still think Buffalo's the class of that division. New England will cause a lot of problems, and the Dolphins and the Jets will just be garbage. But Drake May and the Patriots are going to be really good, and Mike Vrabel, hell of a coach. And again, if I needed one coach for one game, it might be Mike Vrabel. And look, Sean Payton's great too. Although there's a lot of warts with Sean Payton. Just being a fan of the Broncos and watching him, there's a lot of issues. He and Bo Nix and their little back and forth was really weird. He just feels a little strange with him. But I do love Vrabel, and certainly Andy Reid's the GOAT, right?
Right. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday. If you're given Lifetime Achievement Award, it's Andy Reid. He gets the Draymond Green $28 million, best coach in the AFC.
Yeah.
But the point is, there are a handful of really good coaches in the AFC that can be a difference maker. And then the other thing is a bunch of young quarterbacks ready to take the next step. Your guy, Bo Nix, talked about Drake May, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence. Justin Herbert, who's getting married.
Yes.
We talked about that yesterday, but you talk about those young quarterbacks too, and it's like one of those guys could have a special season. It could really click for him. So can't get here quick enough. I do know we're 30 days today from week 0 of college football.
Today marks the 30-day mark. Let's go.
We are 30. We're within a month. We're at the calendar month of college football starting, and I can't wait.
If I were Utah State, I would schedule a week 0 game every year. And I know there's a lot of rules involved.
Against the team you can beat.
Against the team you can beat. So you can steal the spotlight for the week. A few years ago, they had a week 0 game. They played Jim Mora, his first game, or was it? Yeah, I think it was his first game as head coach at UConn. Maybe, yeah, it was his first year. And it was a great game. And Utah State was able to hold on and get the victory. But they had the whole eyes of the state, because not only are they the only team playing on that Thursday or on that Saturday, but we're all football starved for the last 8 months. So we're dying for football.
Yeah,
so everybody was watching it. So go steal it. I would sign up for a week 0 game any opportunity I possibly could, especially if I'm Utah State, if I'm a G5 team, because everybody's like, it's like seeing that oasis at the end of the desert. You're like, water. Yes.
I can finally hit somebody.
Yeah.
That's not on my team. That becomes the most inane, like those couple of weeks before the season starts, and everybody's on edge, and there's not a thing you can do but handle that day.
So you're gonna notice this in the media. So when fall camp starts, coming up at the end of the week into next week, it's going to be great, and there's going to be storylines right and left, and we're going to have a blast talking and breaking it down. And then all of a sudden, you get a week and a half into camp, and then it's like, rinse and repeat. And it's like, oh, come on, let's just go. Let's go. Because, and the players feel the same way, because they're over there thinking to themselves, I'm lining up against this dude again? Come on, let's go. Let's at least get into game prep. And then the week before the first game, then it kicks in and everybody's in game prep mode. But you're right, there's a little bit of a lull there, and you probably experienced it in basketball too before the start of the season.
The worst. I mean, absolute worst, because really you're sitting there saying, man, the offense looks good, but does that mean the defense is horrible? Or the defense has a great day and you're like, gosh, dang, we are horrible offensively. It's just mind games.
Yeah.
So you really do have to pick objectives. You got to figure out, okay, we're going to get these things installed, and we're not going to make, major judgment decisions until we get into action. And that's why that week 0 games makes a lot of sense, because everybody's in uniform, referees are there with flags in their pocket. Ton of crowd, so you can get a jump on everybody else. 30 days to college football, 43 days to the NFL, which is another reason that 0 week is awesome, because you're not competing with them either.
Nope. All right, we'll take a quick look at the NFC coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb, and I might add, Alex Snapolis behind the glass right here on the Zone.
Bike's sputtering on me.
That's not what you want on a cross-country trip.
Yeah, you're telling me. Looks like my journey ends here.
No, mate. You ride with Geico Motorcycle Insurance and got their 24/7 emergency roadside service. They'll fix your bike right up. Where you headed, anyways?
Oh, I'm going to Cromenge. You ever been?
No, I can't say I have.
It's like Stonehenge, but shiny.
It feels good to ride with help. It feels good to Geico. Emergency roadside service is optional coverage.
His name. You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, so yes, you must be present to win on, as you mentioned earlier today off the air, about the playlist. If Lloyd's not here, Lloyd doesn't get to play music. So
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I was waiting for the executive decision.
No, I think you're right on that one. So you've decided to commandeer today's playlist.
Yeah, this is full on the entire playlist. Kevin McKinney from Austin, Texas.
That's a good song, man.
Everything he writes is great.
You sent me a song this morning on my drive in. I was like, okay.
The Bus Rider.
I can get behind this.
Yeah, it's just So I'm gonna give him a little shine today.
I'm looking at the Alex showed me a video during the break. Jamar Chase is just fighting everybody, the entire defense in Cincinnati training camp. So the Bengals, Yeah, Jamar Chase is all fired up and ready to go. He's throwing hands with pretty much everybody on the defense. And, yeah, welcome to training camp, folks. Let's go.
So if you're thinking about taking him for fantasy, he's ready to go.
Yeah, Jamar Chase might need to be up there now in case you hope he doesn't break a hand with all these fists he's throwing. But it does look like he's getting close to being in midseason form.
Came off a season of 125 receptions, 1,412 yards, averaged 11 yards per catch, and 8 touchdowns. So a guy that I think a couple of years ago, he carried my fantasy team for a good while.
And you always get nervous when you need a wide receiver to carry your fantasy team. But yet, if he did it, nice.
Yeah, he was pretty darn good. It was a couple of years ago when he was all coming onto the scene and nobody really knew about him and making big plays.
Yeah. So overall, though, this is it's a fascinating year in the NFL. Our first hour of the show, we're talking National Football League because there's a lot to break down and a lot to talk about. So as we look at the NFC, we spent the first segment talking about the AFC and the storylines coming from that conference. Now, on the NFC side, I can't even in good conscience say the Dallas Cowboys are a talking point because Dallas is going to do what they always do. They're going to be good. They'll be good. But they'll never be great. And one of these years, I'm going to be wrong, and Dallas will win a Super Bowl, and everybody will celebrate. Hey, look, the Knicks just won an NBA title. Why can't the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl? It's been since 1996 since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. And, look, Troy Aikman was the quarterback. Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Leon Lett, all those guys. So it's been a minute. And Dallas has been on the cusp of getting there talent-wise, but they just fall apart in the playoffs. I don't see why this year's any different. They'll be good. They'll be, 10-7, 11-6.
8-9.
8-9.
Somewhere around there.
In that range, yeah.
I don't think they're going to win one until Jerry relinquishes total control.
And you know what's going to have to happen for that?
His son's going to have to relinquish total control.
Well, I'm just saying, they
got to sell.
He might need to be in the ground.
Well, yeah, but I don't even know if it's good then because his son then just continues to play Jerry. So I don't know exactly. God bless you, Jerry. I watched your documentary on Netflix, and I will say the dude's got guts, major guts, probably crazy guts, some of the stories he told. But you see why Dallas can't get over the hump because if it comes down to one guy or two guys making a difference, Dallas does not do a very good job at, I don't think, assessing talent and, putting in. I feel like their front office is behind, and it's mainly because they have a bunch of non-football people making football decisions.
It's like the Lakers.
Right.
The buses found a way to get in the way, whether it was their lack of cash, which isn't the case with Jerry. Jerry's flush with cash, but they also found a way to get in their own way a lot, and that just seems to be the case in Dallas.
I mean, it used to be the NFC. When I was a kid, you talk about the NFC, you talk about the Cowboys first, and that's not the case. I mean, there's obviously Philly's trying to get back to where they were last year. And the cool part about Hurts is they've got that thing set up where he doesn't have to be Superman.
No.
He just has to make plays and move the ball. But I feel like I feel like the NFC is about the Rams this year.
Yep.
And everybody else is going to be trying to figure out how to stay in pace. The other team I actually really like out of the NFC this year is your Jordan Love Green Bay Packers.
Love that team. Big fan
of J Love.
And again, I have a hard time. I called every snap of his in the collegiate level. I have a hard time being unbiased about Jordan Love. Are there some games where you're like, what the hell was that throw? But then there's going to be another game like, what the hell was that throw? Like it's all over the place with him. But when he's dialed in, he's great, and I think he might have I don't think he'll win an MVP, but I think he may be in the conversation of MVP this year.
I do too. I've seen his name sprinkled around in some of the preseason stuff I've read. The Packers expected to be, a good team this year. Could it be Packers-Rams in the NFC Championship? That would be a whale of a situation.
I do think Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears take a step backwards.
I do too.
I don't trust Caleb. He's gotten, I think he probably got a little big for his britches during the offseason. Fighting with George Gervin, which is never good to do with the sports gods. Don't pick a fight with George Gervin.
Leave that alone.
No.
I mean, if anything, wear their stuff.
Honor Iceman. Don't fight Iceman. And he wanted to be Iceman, got in a trademark battle with him and lost. And but I look, I don't trust Caleb. I don't really trust that team. Chicago, much like to a lesser extent New York, is where quarterbacks go to die, and eventually it's going to catch up to them. I just don't see Chicago taking that next step.
I do like Ben Johnson, though.
I do. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I like the coach.
But I think the biggest, I believe in Caleb's talent. I don't love his character.
Oh, yeah.
And I think character is a big piece of being able to win because you're trying to get all these big dudes in front of you to do their job. And they're going to do it easier for somebody with better character.
I don't know if I should tell this story on the air.
I think you should.
But I'm going to. So, see, Alex is over there like, I don't care. Lloyd would be in my ear like, are you sure about this? I don't care. We were at a Pac-12 media day. Hans and I were interviewing all the players and coaches, and Caleb Williams comes by, sits down, and this is the first and only time I've ever seen this with a player. And frankly, I've never seen it with a coach either. Caleb Williams sits down in the chair, and two other people bring chairs and sit down next to him and demand to have headphones on. Now, they're not going to talk. They just want to hear our questions and his answers. It's his PR team. Now, this is USC Caleb Williams. This isn't Chicago Bear Caleb Williams. And so we find a couple chairs. We find a couple extra headsets for his people. And one is a lady in her 30s. Another is a dude probably in his 40s or 50s. And we asked Caleb Williams, and you know how it is. It's preseason media day. We're not Woodward and Bernstein here. We're not throwing out the hard heat.
Did you order the Code Red?
Yeah, it's like, hey, how was your summer? What are you looking forward to? What are some of your goals? How's the team coming together again? And so we would ask these questions, and Caleb would look over at these people, both of them, and then they would nod. And then he would give the most plastic answer you've ever heard. And then we'd ask another question. And you'd hear this little pause. He'd look over, and they'd be like, and then he would go ahead and answer it. Again, giving no information whatsoever. And that's fine. You can answer it any way you want. But the fact that he was already looking over at his PR people, should I answer this? Do you want me to shut this down? Do you want to step in and shut this down? Okay, I can answer. Okay, I will go ahead and answer it. And then gave it the most public, PR sounding nonsense he's ever said. We worked hard and we're looking forward to a great season. You wrote "F-U" on your fingernails to the Utes. I really just want to focus in on football today. It's like, all right, thank you. We asked two questions, and both Hans and I looked at each other like, this is worthless. This is dumb. Let him go. And that was it. But it was unbelievable the amount of things that were surrounding him, and that was in college. I can't imagine what that's like in the NFL, and I can't imagine what that's like after a season in which he performed pretty well and had some signature moments. Look, that fourth down throw, people are going to remember that forever in Chicago. But if he doesn't build on it, people will just look at it as a fluky play. He's got to build on it, and I don't know if he's prepared mentally to be able to take that next step.
Do you feel like they get in the playoffs, like the wild card? Or do you feel like miss?
I don't think so. I think they miss.
They miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're looking at a quarterback in the NFC, another young quarterback, a guy that actually I kind of feel better about than Williams because of the character and all the other things is Jaden Daniels. I mean, yes. I feel like that guy is more about business. And, I feel like the last year was really fun to see Washington actually have a team.
Yeah.
And actually go out there and do some things. So will they, be able to completely, flip it and continue to? I feel like they'll take another step. I think Commanders I think they'll win 10, 11 games. I
agree. And you're right. Jaden Daniels looks to me like a guy who, he's about playing. He's about winning. Playing. He doesn't care about the marketing. He doesn't care. Like he'll take everybody's money in the marketing, but deep down it's about winning and playing well.
And the perfect comparison to what you talked about with Caleb Williams, because I was there with you this year, and Noah Fafita, who's arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the entire country. And the dude comes up and he looks us all in the eye before he grabs the headset and he says, "Hey, how you guys doing?" Shakes all our hands, sits down, says, "Where's the camera?" Just so I can situate. Flips his chair around so he can see the camera, and was incredible in the interview. I mean, so you talk about character, and that's my biggest concern with Caleb is I don't believe as Majerus used to say to certain guys he didn't appreciate their effort. He'd say, yeah, you're a character instead of having any. And that was one of the ultimate cuts. I kind of feel like that with Caleb Williams. He's a character. He's a guy that will put incendiary things on his fingernails and then act like he didn't. That, he's always kind of playing these games. Very talented. That throw he made may have been one of the best throws I've ever seen for the situation. Yeah. But in the end, I think it's that play's awesome, but what are you doing for me on first, second, third all the time? And, willing to sacrifice, willing to, get the respect of your teammates. Football's big on that. Football's big in that huddle, be able to look everybody in the eye and know they're with us. And I just don't know at the end of the day if they look at Caleb and think, is this guy all the way with us?
That's what it all comes down to. Like, you can do, and I'm putting words into a situation that I wasn't a part of, but just being around you and being around that team a little bit and covering them, I got the vibe that, look, Jimmer was getting all the attention, all the love. But when he got in on that court, all those teammates knew that, he was getting a lot of attention, but it was all about winning. And so let's go to battle. If a guy's getting all the attention and all the love and it doesn't feel like he's in it with you in the battles and in the scrums and in the summer conditioning and everything else that goes along with it, they're like, he's in it for himself. And you will lose a locker room very quickly if people get that vibe.
No doubt. And people can, this. In our business, you can sense the phonies. Yeah. You can sense the people that are, smiling when the camera's on and then doing their thing. And so I think players, they certainly understand that. So I think that's his biggest fight right now. Talented as the day is long, but can he find it at some point in his career to make the team was as important as he makes himself? You
hit it on the head, though. Let's not kid ourselves. It's all about the Rams in this conference.
Yes, sir.
Now we hear from our guy.
Hey, Rams fan.
Oh, yeah.
All right. How confident are you?
I feel pretty confident. I feel pretty good. If Matthew Stafford could play anywhere at the level that he was last season, I think that they got a pretty good chance, especially now that you add Myles Garrett to that defense.
Which is cheating,
Unreal.
You know what? I'll take it.
Were you a little bummed when they drafted the quarterback in the draft because they didn't attack this season?
I was. It makes sense though, right? You want to have some kind of plan for for what life looks like after Matthew Stafford. It felt like right now you could have probably added a guy with that 13th pick to bring in somebody to help immediately.
But they managed that, didn't they?
And so we'll see. We'll see what the section plan looks like for Ty Simpson going down the line.
Stafford's going to totally Brett Favre that thing. He's going to make it so uncomfortable for him. He's going to wreck his life, much like then Aaron Rodgers turned around and did it to Jordan Love. It's going to wreck that locker room. That locker room's going to split in half.
He's just trying to get your goat.
Nothing can bring me down from
Myles
from
Garrett.
The Rams.
Don't bring me down. I mean, just okay. Oh, yeah, let's take him.
Honestly, how surprised would you be if Adam Schefter pops up a tweet and said, the Rams are trading for Vita Vea? It's like, yeah, okay, fine. And you don't know how they did it. You don't know where they came up with the picks. You don't know how they pulled it off, but somehow Vita Vea is now on his way and playing for the Rams because that's just what they do. They find a way to get defensive superstars, and Myles Garrett playing for the Rams feels like a cheat code. It's like when you screw with take the settings off at Madden and you just load up your team.
I love that setting. Just the load up setting. Try to just really rub it in. I'm gonna ask you this because I asked you about the NFC, or excuse me, the AFC. What coach are you taking from the NFC? If you got, who's your guy? Because I've got mine.
You know what? I will go, and I know he was just fired. I will go the head coach of the New York Giants, Jim Harbaugh. Or John Harbaugh, sorry.
I mean, what's to argue with him, right?
Yeah.
He just rolls it out there and wins. He's not like his brother.
I have a hard time with Sean McVay. I don't know why. Maybe he's younger than I am. Maybe he's better looking than I am, and he's crazy more successful. Like, I can handle if a guy's when Andy Reid's awesome, so be it. He's older than me, been around longer than me, fine. But when you have a guy that's much younger than you, that's way just killing it and has a great head of hair, it's like, oh man, I can't like that guy. It's like when I go to a car lot, I can't buy from the best looking dude on the lot. Go give me the schlub that's in the back. He needs the money. You don't need the money.
The guy that jumps down from the bell tower.
Yeah. Give me water. That's who I want to buy a car from.
I've never heard that one. Mine's Dan Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
Run through a wall for that cat.
Yeah.
And I mean, I imagine if I could get him to go out after the game, that'd be fun too.
I think he would probably drink anybody under the table.
Yeah, Dan seems to be my kind of guy. So I'm going with Dan. And I love what he's done in Detroit. The team has just been, out there for a long time, and they seem to have a little presence now.
Well, and the worry is with Detroit, maybe their window is closed a little bit. Like it was there, and then maybe it's coming back. It's like, I
think they peaked.
It's like the Jazz, and they had that window there for a moment, and then it shuts. And there's a concern there with Detroit that they may have peaked, and now they're on their way back.
I agree. I think they've peaked going from, the last few years where expectations, the climbing, expectations are really high. That's typically, as I've said, hype and expectation ruin many a party.
What you may have missed coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, I'm about to put you in a bad mood. It's a good thing we're playing good music today because this is going to put you in a bad mood. This is going to send you right back to Dylan.
Firing mid-show like Ryan Clark?
No.
Okay.
No.
Then I'm good.
No. But you are going to have a little NCAA PTSD here. All right, guys are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. But the NCAA finally found something. You're like, wait. Hold on. The NCAA has suspended Tennessee linebacker Arian Carter for the first 2 games of the season. Why, you may ask? Because he accepted a $427 flight from an agent after he had declared for the NFL draft. So he declared for the draft, decided to forgo the draft, took the flight before deciding to go back into return to college. And because he had accepted a $427 flight before disengaging with the agent, he will miss the first 2 games of the season. Are you freaking kidding me? $427. Dudes are making more money than anybody who works for the NCAA, and they're going to suspend this dude over $427. Now, like he said, Josh Heupel said he paid back the agent. It was because the dude, look, the guy's playing at Tennessee. He can find $427 in his couch cushions. Like, he's like, okay, $427, boom. You want that in Venmo? What do you want? I can get it to you right now. He disengages with the agent, gives him his $427, but the NCAA decides, even though everything is hemorrhaging, people are losing arms. It looks like they're like a medic showing up with one of those Snoopy Band-Aids in the first 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan.
Here, let me put this on your arm.
Oh, you know what? As you're pushing your intestines back into your stomach, here's a little Snoopy Band-Aid. There you go. That'll help you. That's going to help the situation. Like, what are we doing?
This is, so everybody understands, the reason we are in the depths of hell in college athletics right now. Because since the beginning of this organization, this fledgling, brainless, stoogey, idiotic, ridiculous organization known as the NCAA got us here.
Yeah.
Because this is the type of crap that everybody is so sick and tired of. So, yeah, you're right. This got me now. Because, just make it make sense. Business things happen all the time. You make a decision and change your mind.
Oh, yeah.
The $427 repayment should have been enough. But you're right. It's the NCAA. Like, I can see an entire boardroom standing up. We found one.
We got it. Hey. Yeah, sue your way out of this one, big fella. We got you.
The only difference here is they're actually going against a team with a name, because typically it's, like Tark said all those years, if they're mad at UNLV, they're mad at North Carolina, then just find UNLV.
Yeah.
Find a G4 to go after. If you've ever been to Indianapolis, the money, the buildings, the ridiculous nature of the authority of the NCAA can all be summed up in this article right here.
Yeah.
And it is why we are where we are. The NCAA, there isn't a bigger criminal organization other than the mob. Period. And I've said a couple of things on Twitter. A couple of years ago, I was so after them on Twitter anytime I saw stuff like this, that actually had somebody from the NCAA in their, one of their departments follow me on Twitter. Like, what is that going to do? You're going to slow me down?
We're going to give him a show cause.
He was in the league. We know back in 1988 that this guy did this. Bottom line is, this type of stuff makes my blood boil, because if you want to blame somebody for what college athletics is right now, you blame that stupid, idiotic organization.
Look, you can be mad at the players, which is dumb. You can be mad at the coaches for all the money they make, which is also dumb. You can be mad at a lot of people for where we're at right now. You can be mad at the lawyers who are suing the kids, those entitled punks. Guess what? No, they deserve some of this money. They're generating the revenue. They deserve some of it. This is who you blame. If you want to get mad at one individual institution, right there. That's who carries all the blame in this. They could have been forward thinking. They could have gotten ahead of this. We don't need to be where we're at right now.
So I'm going to go back to our instance. I know we're short on time. We'll make it quick. But when we were dealing with the one and only NCAA thing we dealt with, because I would tell you this, Dave Rose is the type of guy, like down at BYU, they don't like you walking on the grass. They like their grass nice and green. So it's one of the unwritten rules. He wouldn't cheat. Like, he wouldn't walk across the grass at BYU because he values rules that much. And, in the instance of Nick Emery, Nick was involved with a booster. That was something that we had no idea that any of that was going on. But to take a guy who had done nothing but give, do it the right way his entire career, then to upend and take games away and make the scene they made and fly them back to Indianapolis and have to go all through the rigmarole. What people don't know is they send a team of about 5 people out here, and they were going around to local businesses asking questions. It's like, who the hell do you think you are to do that to a guy like that? So I've never – that was the final straw for me when they went that deep on a guy that the last thing he'd ever do is cheat. And they allow, in the same time, the FBI is basically taking all these head coaches and naming them, and they were doing this, and they've got them on tape. And all of those dudes still stuck around.
Yeah.
So the NCAA and I, we don't get along.
And North Carolina created a free class, a fake class to give player A's. And the NCAA didn't do anything about it because North Carolina did such a great job in denying that it happened. The worst thing you could ever do with the NCAA is admit guilt.
Exactly.
Deny till you die to the NCAA. And then finally they just give up. I'm like, there's nothing we can do. We don't have subpoena power.
One of the instances that they noted in Nick's deal, I guess a booster was in the locker room after practice talking to the guys. Nick had ripped his shoe out. And the guy walked by and he's like, what the crap? You ripped your shoe out. And he basically took a $100 bill and threw it on there and said, go get you another pair of shoes, But that came up in the deal. So it is, it's ridiculous. And it's a witch hunt. They're trying to, with different headlines, show that they're enforcing the law. But I think with these different headlines, it just shows you how inept, how idiotic, how feckless this whole organization has become.
You don't hear feckless a lot on this show.
Well,
you did today. All right, 11 o'clock hour kicking off next, 97.5.
You made me mad.
The KSL Sports Zone.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because they hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3C GM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Accessing the best radio in Utah is right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, kicking off the 11 o'clock hour. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. We do it every day from 10 to 2 right here on the Zone. All right, so we talked a lot of NFL as we get you ready for the start of the NFL season, which is what, 42?
43 days away.
43 days away from today. The NFL will kick off the season. We are just 30 days away from kicking off week 0 in the college football season. So we are less than a month away from college football, folks.
Just keep your head down. Just keep your head down. Just keep the days moving, and it'll be here before you know.
Yeah, we can't wait, man. Cannot wait. And look, there's a lot of drama going on in terms of the landscape of the NFL and college football. And the NBA has kind of quieted down, and I think we're pretty much locked and loaded for, everybody was just sitting back and waiting. Adam Silver was sitting back and waiting. Everybody was waiting until we found out whether or not Draymond Green would re-sign with the Warriors.
And it was huge that he did. For the amount of money as well, just massive for the league.
No, LeBron's on his way to Philadelphia. Philly now is a title contender on paper. And Joel Embiid, who now is committed to be fully in shape. Like, you've been in the league for a decade, and now you're like, oh, you know what? This year, guess what? I'm going to be in shape.
I'm really impressed with you, LeBron. You just wait. But that's been their. I said it. That's been their issue for a while. When a guy plays 36 of a possible 82, 38 of a possible 82, and 19 of a possible 82 3 years in a row, a little bit of an issue there.
And a lot of people are like, hey, you can't. That's a personal shot at him. Look, it could be or it could not be. It doesn't matter. Either way, you're not on the court. Whether or not the injury is legitimate, regardless of how tough you are. The facts are you're not on the court. So you're either injury prone or you're that would be a weird subset to look at online. Anyway, you're either injury prone or you're just weak. You're soft. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're not on the court.
And that's where you're paid to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, shots or not, that's your job. You're a former MVP, and Tony Jones said it yesterday. This whole thing in Philly is nice, is great, it's fun, it's great to think about the talented guards, Jaylen Brown, LeBron, guys coming off the bench like KCP and all that. But there is one big piece that has to perform for this team to actually compete for a title, to be considered a contender, and that's the big guy.
And I keep getting asked, and I'm going to let you just take full control of this conversation. In fact, I was at my local Maverick, and I had a listener come up and say, hey, so when are the Jazz going to get a big man? When are the Jazz going to get a big man? And my answer is, I think what you see is pretty much what you get right now. There's not going to be – now, there could be, leading up to trade deadline, especially if the Jazz get hot and they just need another piece just to make sure that they're a viable playoff team. But I don't see any big roster movement coming up here for the Jazz.
I don't either. I really don't. I feel like, the decision when Walker made that decision, that was his decision to make. The Jazz were willing to go to a certain point, but when he walked, that just opened up, a door. And I don't know how long this corridor will last. But what the Jazz will be doing is playing the center by committee. And, the good thing about it is Nurk was really good here last year.
Yes.
In terms of his career, definitely took a turn up. Got to get better defensively and some of those things. And I feel like that's the part Will Hardy will really focus on in training camp, is figure out how to get this to be a functional defense where guys are given effort, but also the schemes are tight. So that's one piece of it. But this is going to be a corridor the Jazz walk until another opportunity that's appealing presents itself.
So Tony did say something yesterday that I wanted to run past you because this caught me a little bit off guard. He has the Jazz as right about either a play-in team or, 6-5 in that range, 8-7-6 in that range. He said that if the Jazz were able to get the Walker Kessler thing done, that they would be a top 4 team. That seems like a big jump. And in that case, maybe Walker Kessler, if that is true, which I don't think it is, but if it is true, then Walker Kessler may have been worth $38 to $40 million.
Well, I think this year, for sure, it would have made things a little smoother. And, would that ensure, like paying him that much money, would that pay dividends in a few years? I would think not.
Yeah.
But in this particular year, and it's why I think the Jazz, to a certain extent, were willing to go as far as they did, because it's set up for this year. And the one thing that Walker can really define is defense and rebounding. I mean, the one thing he is very similar to Gobert in, when he's on the floor, people are aware of it. And the rim opportunities aren't as plentiful. And so that's going to be the biggest thing with it. Without him is how the Jazz protect the rim. And they're going to have to do it together. You mentioned, Tony mentioned yesterday, Jaren Jackson doesn't rebound or not a great rebounder. You can go look at the numbers. I actually am going to go out on a limb and say he's going to get better in that area, because I watched John Collins come in here after shooting 29% from 3, and his first year with the Jazz, he shot 43%, I think, from 3 that year. Guys, it's a unique experience here, I think. Nurk was able to have an uptick because the ball moves around and guys are able to be a part of it. So I feel like until they are able to find another center, whether that be through a trade, through another draft, whatever it may be, a situation I've mentioned a few times like Memphis, where there's turmoil in the locker room. And it may not be the guy causing the turmoil that you got to move, but you got to move some pieces to unwedge kind of some of that mess. That's what Memphis did to get their rebuild started. So the Jazz are just keeping their head on a swivel, and they're certainly going forward. They've got a ton of talent, but it's not going to be exactly the way they had it drawn up, because I think in their heart of hearts they had Walker sitting there at the 5. And I do think for sure this year that would have made a major difference. I think I've changed my mind. I had the Jazz in that top 6 for sure, without question, with Walker. And now I'm saying make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just get in some way. Play in, playoff, whatever it is. That's the step they need to take. And I'm not ready to say with this center by committee that they're able to do what they were able to do with Walker. So I've kind of reworked my expectations too.
I do think that if I'm Austin Ainge and Justin Zanuck, I'm looking at, you mentioned that Memphis situation was just ripe for the picking. I do not panic trade, which, by the way, there's never panic in that front office.
No, that's where you lose.
Exactly. So I'm preaching to the choir. Like, no way they would do this. But if you're a Jazz fan, just know that the Jazz will not panic trade to find a way to solidify that position going into the start of the season. What they'll do is they're going to take their war chest, especially all that stuff they got from the Lakers, in exchange for Walker Kessler, and they're going to sit on it and just wait to poach. They're going to wait till the game warden looks the other way. They're going to take their 12 gauge into old man Bob's field, and they're going to knock down a couple pheasants because they're just waiting for something to happen. That, you're not getting Triple J before the start of the season last year. But when that thing got crazy, you can go ahead and pick off that guy.
Exactly. I mean, he would have been a guy that a lot of people have thought you probably couldn't go get, But Ja Morant made him available. Because Ja couldn't pull color in the lines.
And those situations usually pop up in the course of a regular season. You get a team that, for some reason, the locker room just blew up, or they're losing and everybody's grumpy, and there's pressure on a front office to do something or to shut it down. And they're like, all right, we're having a fire sale. We're having an estate sale. Come in and grab anything you want. Let's go. And the Jazz need to have those assets available so when that opportunity comes, they can swoop in and maybe get that big man before the trade deadline.
So in the short term, everybody's going to have to do a little more. And, those centers that come in are going to have to play, they're going to have to play solid. They're going to have to understand the assignment. Ball screens are going to be vital, how you guard ball screens. But, again, I'm looking at Jaren Jackson. Let's just look at his rebounding numbers. In his career, in the 8 years he's played, his best year rebounding the basketball was 6.8 rebounds. It's the year he won the Defensive Player of the Year back in 2022-23. He dropped last year all the way to 4.3 rebounds. So in my mind, this is a guy that's one area. If I'm sitting in a room with him, look, man, I know you can shoot it. I knew you're going to be great for us offensively, but we have a hole, and we're going to need everybody to do a better job in these areas, rebounding one of them. I'm going to challenge you to get 7 a game. Most you've ever gotten, 6.8. I'm going to challenge you to get 7. And I think that's what you do. You ask guys to stretch a little bit.
Is he? And you think he's capable of that?
I mean, he's got the body to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys don't read the ball very well, and that plays against them. But I do believe that he can do better than certainly do better than 4.3. I mean, you're talking about in some cases that's a guard's number, so he's got to do a better job of that.
Yeah, and the thing too is having to play him at times out of position. I mean, you want him at the 4, right? I mean, you don't want
you don't want him at the 5.
But he may be forced to play some of the 5.
There'll be some rotations, I'm sure, where it actually makes sense in the game.
Yeah,
because other teams have to go small too. So you have a small lineup, and he'd be a perfect small ball 5. You just can't play it very much, I don't think.
No. So Nurk, get ready. You love it here. You talk about how much you love it here. Well, guess what? Time to show you love it here.
The other guy that I think will punch above his weight in this calling, and I think last year was a huge boon to that, is Filipowski.
You've been on the Flip bandwagon all year.
I just like that Flip allows, like, he's one of those guys in the locker room that'll go do the dirty stuff, right? And last year with the injury to Walker, he was almost by necessity. Is like he almost had to go in on it. I don't know if you've ever seen that show 60 Days In, where they put just a regular person in jail and they basically go in there undercover and they have cameras and stuff and they tell the experience. I mean, that's what Flip's deal was last year. He is a very skilled big guy who was forced to go down there and just muck it up with the biggest dudes in the league. And so I think by him doing that, having the experience of doing that, and actually coming out at the other side pretty well. I mean, I look at his numbers last year. You talk about rebounding. He's just been in the league 2 years, but in rebounding last year per game, Flip averaged 11 rebounds a game. 11.
Wow.
In how many minutes? He played 1,800 minutes total, but he averaged 11 rebounds a game. So you asked me the question, can Jaren do it? Well, Flip's built nothing like Jaren.
Yeah.
And so a lot of rebounding is want to, or know-how's a part of it, but the biggest part is want to.
Yeah. Just, are you willing to get in there and throw some elbows?
I mean, 11 rebounds a game. Oh, that's 36. I'm sorry. I'm going per 36. That was a major rookie mistake on my part. Let me get this actual stats. Okay, here we go. Per game. I was wrong. It's 7.2. But still.
Still not bad.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
In 23 minutes a game, he's getting 7. So I do feel like he's a guy, when he comes in and he has to play some of those minutes at the 5, he'll be ready to do it.
And plus he gives you that stretch element too. So, I mean,
and he can handle it and DHOs, back cuts, all that stuff. He's proficient passing the ball,
which is a lot what Triple J can do too. So I mean, look, you got some opportunities there. There's certainly some things that I'm excited about with this Jazz team. So do you have to temper your expectations a little bit? Sure. Do you have to? But also, I think you brought up a good point too in terms of the long term. This is probably a better situation for the Jazz long term with the picks and not getting tied up in a contract for 5 years.
Well, that one overpay could cost you a chance at elongating a contention window, right? Because this is such a year-by-year business now with these contracts the way they are. And if you go out there and overpay Walker, and the overpay was pretty immense.
Yes, the Jazz would have had to probably come up with 38, 39 minutes.
And it's just too much.
It is.
It's just too much. So they made the right move, and you just have to understand that they did. It may cause some pain this year, but a couple of years down the road, I think everybody's going to look back and go, that was the right decision.
Yeah. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, Dan Wolken will join us. Always good catching up with him in terms of the landscape of college football, see what he thinks is on the horizon. Also, we will continue our tour around the Big 12 Conference and some of the other upcoming opponents. We'll talk a little Kansas football with Henry Greenstein, coming up at the at 105. I don't know. What is it about guys? I'm just looking at Henry's bio. There is something in the water down there in Phoenix. If you apparently went to because PK didn't just go to Arizona State. What does PK say? I went to the Cronkite School of Journalism, the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Like, I get it. That's great. Good for you. Walter Cronkite, love him. Sure, he's a bastion of journalism. But everybody who comes out of that program wants to flaunt Walter Cronkite. Henry Greenstein on his bio goes through and goes, at Cronkite, ASU grad. Okay, good. Does that make me want to follow you on Twitter more? I'll follow him because he's covering Kansas.
What's the broadcast school?
I should probably not be saying this before he comes on. I should probably wait till after he comes on to say this stuff.
What is the broadcasting school at Utah State called?
I have no idea.
I was just wondering.
I don't think it's got a name. At least when I went there. It's like, hey, let's go. Let's get to work.
Let's study.
Let's figure out how to do this thing and go make your mark on the world.
I'm headed down to the Cronkite to do some research.
You know what? It's like Joe Schmuckatelli School of Journalism. Why? Because we're grinders. We show up every day. We do our job. We do it better than everybody else, and then we go home. We don't need any special name of some dude that was on 60 Minutes 80 years ago. We don't need that. No. We're all about getting the job done.
I took a crash course in broadcasting through the Barry Melrose Academy. It was just a 3-week program. They required you grow your hair long.
Yeah, you got to have the mullet if you're going to be the Barry Melrose
if you're
School.
going to represent the Melrose. So that's where I hang my hat.
11:25. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, it is your bad, it is your ugly, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right. We take some of the good stories. There's a lot of bad, and usually there's a lot of ugly. This is the time of year where there's a lot of ugly, too, because guys have a little time on their hands. NBA's over. It was right before training camp. The NFL's going to cool down a little bit because guys are going to be in camp, and they're going to be too busy to get into trouble, although some will still find a way. But this is when you see the influx of DUIs and all kinds of nasty stuff.
Tony Romo, of all people, getting a DUI. Tony, come on. He was just going to Grandma and Grandpa's.
Did you guys watch the TMZ video that was released yesterday?
The funny thing is, I'm hearing a bunch of pushback that he may have some, I don't know, that he may not have been, and that he may have a case or something along those lines. You know how social media gets your head going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tony was. Did he avoid the test, the field sobriety test? Because a lot of those guys are told, don't take the field sobriety test.
He tried to call his lawyer, and the officer was not letting him call his lawyer.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it'll be a thing. You watch.
All right. So, Team USA in soccer makes their run. All right. They get to the Sweet 16 before getting bounced in that round. But there feels like there's a lot of momentum for Team USA soccer. So, do you keep the coach in place? Well, Alex, yes. It appears that way. As U.S. Soccer close on deal to renew United States men's national team coach. All right, Alex, the floor is yours. Good move, bad move. Keeping him around.
Start the clock.
No.
Oh,
you get plenty of time.
All right.
I think it is a good move. I definitely thought that heading into the World Cup, I had a lot of questions about the team defensively. I had a lot of questions about the team's midfield. But overall, I thought that they punched above their weight through the group stage. And even in that game against Bosnia, and they played really, really well. But the thing that concerns me is just that moment, right, when you probably needed your best performance. You come in and you have your worst against Belgium. I think overall, though, he is the right choice moving forward. I hope that he sticks around for the next cycle, which is the next 4 years, right, leading up to that 2030 World Cup, so he can really put his stamp on this team in the pool. And I think ultimately, right, if he didn't continue, I just don't know if there's any coach right now out there who can really replace him and can really be successful with the U.S. men's national team. So I think a good move overall.
Mauricio Pochettino? Did I say that right?
Mauricio Pochettino.
Mauricio.
Yeah,
okay, Mauricio. All right. Yeah, I agree. Because the question is, who else out there is better? That's what we always say when people are sending out tweets, fire this coach, fire this coach. The question is, who else out there is better? So if you're going to fire somebody, you better make sure that you know you can get somebody better. A lot of ADs get themselves into trouble because they fire a guy and then they realize nobody really wants this job.
Hand me that file over there and let me look through some more names that somebody might be interested.
Because nobody really wants it. There would be a lot of people that would want it, but is he the best? And it certainly seems like that would be the case. You don't want to screw around. The other good is for the fifth time in BYU basketball history, and you were part of a couple of these, BYU is heading back to the Maui Invitational. Now, there's a lot of tournaments. I call games in the Diamond Head. There's some tournaments over there, but this is the crown jewel, right?
Yeah, it's the crown jewel. Always kind of has been. Do a great job of, just making it an event. And, it's fun for the fans to go over. We took a ton of people both times we went. Didn't have a crazy amount of success in the tournament itself, but we were, I think the biggest, we lost some heartbreakers. We lost a couple overtime games over there. One particular, we played Purdue, and as I call them, Purdon't. And they had a big guy like Edie, but his last name was Haws. Haws. Big old Spencer.
Yeah.
Not Spencer, but I can't remember his first name, but he's a big old dude.
I remember that dude.
And he just caused a lot of problems for us.
I mean, he's stereotypical Iowa. They always have those dudes.
Yep. And then they had a great shooter that really hurt us from three. But the thing that I remember the most is just a little Cracker Box gym there in Lahaina. And I had to use the restroom so bad during the Purdue game. And I think it went two overtimes. So at the end of first overtime, if you're watching the tape, like everybody's running to the bench to come, recoup and get ready for the next overtime. And you see me in my Hawaiian shirt sprinting for the opposite end. I went in there, ran up there and saw if I could, it was just number one. So don't get worried.
It was a
quickie.
It was a 30-second timeout, not a full.
May have been a minute the way I held it. And the way I drink Diet Coke. But everybody had a lot of fun with that one on the staff, even though
you see that flower shirt just booming up those stairs.
I was just sprinting for the other end and up the stairs.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than when you're calling a broadcast and nature strikes and you're like, whew.
You're looking around for.
Yeah, you're trying to get everything situated before the game, and then
you have surprises.
Overtime, double overtime hits, and eesh.
Go easy on the soda.
That's when I'm with Alex, and I'm like, Alex, you may have to add a minute to this break. We're in trouble. So BYU will play Washington. So it's a showdown against our guy, Danny Sprinkle, and the Huskies. November 23rd. And the winner of that game will get the winner of the Ole Miss-Clemson game. The loser will get the loser of that game. The other side of the bracket, VCU, Providence, Colorado State, and Arizona. So you could potentially see a Big 12 showdown if Arizona continues on and BYU continues on. You could see early season matchup between those two.
Yeah, I think this is going to be Kevin's toughest year. I think he's got great talent again. But if you look at year one, he had Yegor, who's doing great things in the NBA, and then had that freak of nature. I can't remember his name. Was it 2 initials? AJ? Yeah, AJ.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He was actually massive last year as well for BYU.
I heard he was pretty good.
Number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
First time ever. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Pretty crazy.
I'll be darned.
Didn't have a lot of those when I was there. But I think that the young guy he's got coming in this year, Bruce Branch, is very well thought of. But if you're looking at the lottery, he's probably on the edge or just outside. So I think they're going to lean a lot on Colin Chandler. I certainly like the dude they just signed from Poland, 24 years old.
24 years old.
Coming over to make things here in the Americas.
Hey, look, BYU always gets talked about having 22, 23, 24-year-olds. So why
he just didn't go on a mission. He was in Poland playing hoop. So come say, come sa.
All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
Ole Miss isn't messing around. They're tired of Lane Kiffin and LSU. They are now suing 2 former football players who signed revenue-sharing contracts to return to Ole Miss and then decided to join Lane Kiffin at LSU. So the 2 players that are currently being sued, Devin Harper and Prince Will Unimanellan, nailed it. $400,000 and $550,000 for those 2 players, plus attorney's fees, plus court costs in a breach of contract complaint. Here's your quote from Ole Miss. The University of Mississippi values its student athletes and is committed to honoring all obligations made to them. In return, the university expects that same commitment from its student athletes and their representatives in upholding their contracts. Before transferring to another institution, these student athletes signed revenue-sharing agreements that included a provision requiring them to compensate the university with a predetermined amount if they departed before fulfilling their commitment. All right, look, I'm all for if we're going to live in this world of free transfers, there has to be some level of accountability. So I don't care if Lane Kiffin pays this bill. I don't care if the kids pay this bill. I don't care if some LSU booster swoops in and pays it. Somebody needs to pay Ole Miss this money, because if a kid, the one thing that universities are trying to do to try to keep guys in place are signing them. Look, if you sign with us and we give you this money, you can't leave until that contract's over. And if you do leave, there's going to be financial issues. And these guys chose to leave. Fine, whatever. Within the NCAA rules, they can do that. But you did break a contract. And I don't care if it's a car, I don't care if it's a house, whatever the case is, you sign your name on a dotted line, you say you're going to do something, and if you don't do it, there's going to be consequences. You can't come crying foul when they're like, well, these guys want their money. Yeah, of course they want their money. You left them after signing a contract. This is how real life works. That's what college is about, is learning how to function in the real world. Sorry, you signed your name on a contract, then you wanted to go to LSU. You owe them money. Go pay them their money.
And that's been the biggest thing for me. It's like, we're not necessarily doing these guys any life favors, because I don't know how many jobs you walk into without doing one thing and being, paid the amount of money a lot of these guys are getting. So to be able to balance it out, to be able to have accountability, what's right is right, I'm with you. I think that's just it's unfortunately a necessary part of the way things are being done, but you can't leave it where somebody's getting hurt.
All right, there's your bad. Let's get to the ugly.
And of course, the ugly.
Brandon Ayuk, man, this dude, no good. Now, Kyle Shanahan got himself into a nasty car accident. We talked about it yesterday. This was not just a fender bender. This dude was in a serious car accident, multiple injuries, breaking his nose, 3 ribs, his hand, 40 stitches on his face. According to Chris Sims, almost lost his right eye. And in the aftermath of all of that, Brandon Ayuk, who is trying desperately to get out of San Francisco, said the first sent on Instagram, said, you can't win the race if you crash out. Keep your head up and stay in your own lane. You're going to win. Now, here's the thing. Kyle Shanahan has admitted that he reached down to pick up a phone that he had dropped, which led to him getting into that accident. Which, look, Kyle Shanahan, first off, you know, we all know about phone safety in cars. But I do appreciate the fact because he's going to open himself up to a massive lawsuit from the person he hit. He's going to pay them out. There's going to be a civil suit, I'm sure. Like, he is going to be paying out the nose. And he just admitted, yeah, I screwed up. Like, I reached out for my phone. I swerved over into the other lane. I hit this person. I take full accountability for that. And then he's got Brandon Ayuk saying, keep your head up and stay in your own lane. You're going to win.
Yeah, Ayuk is, we talked about character earlier in the program, and this is a whole nother level. The stuff he's been doing on social media, to not have the common decency to just leave that one alone when somebody's actually really hurt. Come on, man, you're better than that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're not. And if you're not, I got no time for you.
He ended with wanted a trade request, and then ended up signing a 4-year, $120 million contract. Hey, that's great, right? Well, he had a sluggish start to the season a couple of years ago. Then he and Shanahan got into a spat. Then later that season, Ayuk tore his ACL. That got him a little bit more angry. Now a squabble over his rehab. Said the 49ers are now looking to void the guarantees in his contract. John Lynch said back in January, I think it's safe to say he's played his last snap with the 49ers. Yeah, I'd say so.
And rightfully so.
That is a bad deal, man. Just show some class. Like, Brandon Ayuk, tremendous player. I don't know where he's at right now, but wide receivers are gone like Kaiser Sosa. Like, they disappear very quickly. So you got a little bit of money, try to be a good guy, and try to go get another job and another contract somewhere else, and try to earn as much as you possibly can before the NFL kicks you to the curb, which they'll do it to everybody, especially wide receivers. So, yeah, this is doing you no favors. No GM is seeing this story today and being like, well, I want him in my locker room. Or seeing all the stuff that he's been saying in the past. Well, I want that guy on my team. Yeah, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on that guy.
I don't either. I mean, as good as he can be at times, explosive, whatever, that's just a lot to deal with. And if he's doing that so overt, imagine all the little stuff that he does. It'd drive you crazy.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, that's what you have to, as a GM, weigh when you're thinking about signing or trading for a guy that's a little bit of a hassle. Like, okay, like Dennis Rodman, there was a circus around Dennis Rodman. For all you kids out there, and you watch that Bulls documentary, Dennis Rodman was a circus. Like, as much of a circus as you can be pre-Twitter, pre-social media. There was a circus. Madonna was here in the Delta Center watching games because those two were connected. It was just a madhouse with Dennis Rodman.
He was wearing wedding dresses.
He married himself. Like, the dude was as weird as he possibly could be. But you know what? When he was out on the court, he helped you win. And the Chicago Bulls said, all right, is he worth the circus to help us win games and win championships? Michael, can you handle him? I got it. All right, let's go get him. It was worth it to them to go get the circus, and he helped them win games. The same thing, with other guys like that. But then you get to a certain point where, like, hey, he'll help us win games, but it's not going to be worth the circus that brings in. And as soon as you hit that moment, you hit that Laffer curve, and it goes starting to go down, then you're out. You're done, and nobody wants you. And you'll show up at a celebrity boxing match on FS1. Like, nobody cares anymore. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. Coming up in just about 20 minutes from now, Dan Wolken will join the program from Yahoo Sports, covering college sports. See if he has his thoughts on the turning landscape of athletics right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because it hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3C GM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb.
Now I know y'all are tripping.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Great stuff, man. That's a great playlist today.
Thank you. Kevin McKinney, Austin, Texas. Go check him out. Spotify. Happens to be lead guitar player for the Party Hounds.
No big deal. You will see him on stage with
Yes,
you at the BYU Notre Dame pregame celebration.
He is he's our LeBron James. We were lucky to sign him. I would be more like your Dominic Barlow off the bench.
Dominic Barlow?
That would be I'm important, but not that important. He's the guy.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm fired up to sit back and watch.
And Utah State has a bye that weekend.
We do.
The ball thing, so it's perfect. We'll get Scotty down in. Well, we'll have to bring you in some dramatic fashion, like in the Utah State bowl outfit.
Yeah, that'll go over well at BYU. Yeah, I'll come out wearing the bowl gear, and that I'm sure that would
tambourine.
be the well received. Yeah, or the cowbell. It seems like a little bit more appropriate.
See, you're quick on your feet.
Yeah, I got you. All right, coming up a little bit later on, we'll chat with Dan Wolken from Yahoo Sports. Everything's been kind of quiet on this Senate front, and we were supposed to hear more about this congressional bill, and that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. It could mean that they're still negotiating and coming right down to the wire to figuring out, okay, you want this, okay, we'll give you this, we can't give you that, how about we adjust to this? A lot of negotiating going on. We'll try to get an update because that would really change things for this upcoming season if a bill got passed before the start of the college football season, which, by the way, as coaches mentioned, is just 30 days away. So we'll chat with him and see if we can get an update on that.
I'm looking forward to talking to Dan. Heard Dan a lot on the show, and certainly been doing this for a long time. We'll have good insight for us.
Yeah, Dan's a keeper for sure. He's got opinions. Let's just say that. Dan is not short on opinions at all. All right, so there's a couple different ways guys can approach Media Day, and one of them is, especially when they're expected to do good things, they're like, hey, look, these are meaningless. Everybody's 0-0. We haven't accomplished anything yet, blah, blah, blah. Oregon's taken a little bit of a different approach. So Dan Lanning on the dais earlier today said, we played as good a football as anyone in the country these last few years, and we haven't won a national championship. So we're close. It's time to attack 2026. New season, new team. We need to become the best version of us. It's time to win a national championship. And then somebody asked him what they need to take to take that next step. Quote, win every game. Said, look, the ball bounced the right way for our opponents a couple times last year, but you create your own luck too. As you go down to the end of the season, you've got to perform at the highest moments, and our guys have the chance to do that. They've been part of a Big Ten championship. They've done these things. We need to win it all. Wow.
He's putting a little pressure on himself.
Not about winning. Obviously that comes with winning a Big Ten championship, but saying, look, it's essentially saying it's national championship or bust for Oregon this year, who is picked to finish second in the Big Ten behind Ohio State.
He's one of my favorite interviews during games because he just looks, his eyes are wild. Or even after they won, he's you definitely tell that ticker is beating. And yeah, they should win in Oregon. I mean, if money now is the end game, and big boosters giving money to the university. I mean, hell, that's been going on at Oregon for a long time. They got a big one too.
Yeah,
he didn't even need to ask.
The granddaddy of them all.
He didn't need to be like Dillingham out there, begging every time he gets the mic. He just goes and says, "Hey, Phil, we need another infusion.
I need this wide receiver really we need to get him." Well,
Can we release another shoe and maybe just get enough revenue?
Yeah, Oregon should be dominating. The world.
This
NIL.
particular time, they should be.
And there's a lot. Look, there's a lot of oil money in Texas. There's a lot of crazy money down south. But Phil Knight with the swoosh should be able to get anything done that needs to be done. Not just from a money standpoint, but from a endorsement standpoint. I mean, these kids have to be gobbling that stuff up.
And one of the worst kept secrets when NIL wasn't a thing was that Dana Altman might be one of the biggest. He comes off as this aw shucks guy.
Yeah.
He and Phil had a little arrangement.
Yeah.
And Oregon's dropped off since the NIL. Everybody else is able to get on the basketball side. Dana's not quite the guy he thought he might be. I think the money was propping him up pretty good.
When people were knocking him, and he's like, "Look, I'll just go. I was happier coaching junior college. I'll just go coach junior college." Yeah, I don't think you're going to do that.
No, you like the money too, Dana.
Yeah,
and
we all do.
Attention.
Yes. That's a dude that was wired pretty tight too.
Oh, I can't remember exactly the scenario. We drew them in the tournament. We played them in Milwaukee, but somehow, some way, there was an article written because we'd played them earlier in the year and actually played pretty well against them. So it was like an article written saying, "Hey, BYU's got a chance" or whatever. He was standing out in the hall when we came in, and he looked at our staff and he's like, "Oh, so you want the Ducks, huh?"
Oh, geez.
Something like that.
Oh, jeez.
He might have been one of the bigger idiots that I had to deal with through all the years. I'm just letting that uncork now. Dana Altman's, Dana's about Dana.
Yeah. Well, there was a game where they played an NIT game in Logan against Utah State. That was Ryan Odom's first year. And you could tell he was just horrifically appalled that they had to come to Logan to play a first-round NIT game. And there was a moment in that first half. I know Ashworth was playing, and Ashworth hit a couple big shots. And Utah State had them. They were up by like 6 or 7 with about 5 minutes left to go in the first half. And there was that moment when you can break a team, and they didn't break him, and then Oregon comes back and just overwhelms them with talent in the second half. But, just watching him roam the sidelines, it's like, okay. You learn a lot about coaches on how they handle themselves in the course of a game.
Yeah, you do. You actually do, and I'm sure you've got a list of guys that you're like, hey, those guys seem like pretty good dudes, and then a whole nother list of, whoa.
There's some guys that actually surprise you a little bit, and I was really fascinated by watching Rick Pitino coach because you would think, and this is when he was it Iona? What was it? Small.
Yep.
Okay. He was at Iona, and it was that Diamond Head Classic, and Utah State had finished a game, and then they were playing. And I just sat right behind their bench because, as you mentioned, in some of these tournaments, you can walk and get any seat you want in the building. And so I just sat behind his bench just to watch him coach. And I was fascinated by how hands-on of a coach he was. He would get after guys, but I would think he would be a guy that would just sit down and let the assistants handle everything. Dude, he was all over the place. And so I'm like, okay. He may not be a particularly good human being, but he's coaching hard.
Oh, he coaches really, really hard. Former Ute, Ricky Johns, Garfield Ricky Johns played for us during the Ray Giacoletti era. He's from Long Island, but he's one of Rick's assistants now, one of his main assistants. So, he's got a big job because he's like Rick Majerus. He's definitely into detail and leaves no stone unturned.
All right, take a break. High noon. Dan Wolken joins us next, 97.5, the EKSL Sportsin.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. Hope you're having a tremendous Wednesday. Time to talk a little college football. Dan Wolken, kind enough to hang out with us from Yahoo Sports. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. So is our congressional bill, is it on life support? Does it have a pulse? If it was in the ambulance, what condition would it be in right now?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to hang on every word that's coming out of the congressional staffers, and certainly a lot of my colleagues are in regular communication, getting sort of the minute-by-minute updates. I'm more of a tell me when you have the baby, because I don't really trust, deadlines create pressure for sure, but they also create a lot of fake urgency. It is true that the Senate is going on recess soon, and so, if they don't get it done, it creates a whole domino effect of timing issues, and obviously the election in November is one where, you really, as you get closer to that, it's really difficult. So they feel like they're under a time commitment. The SEC and the Big Ten have been stringing it along. I don't really know, what's going to happen. And even if they do get it on the floor, and even if they vote for it in the Senate, then it's got to go to the House. And I don't know. I try to be a little removed from all the machinations of it.
Dan, you've been doing this a long time, and we've been talking about this era that we've been in the last few years, and just trying to figure out a way to get out of it and kind of stabilize things. What do you feel like the ultimate end game is here? I mean, do you feel like it's inevitable we're headed toward a major, big super conference that the big players kind of dictate? Or do you feel like, college football can survive as it is?
Well, it's a really complicated question because it depends so much on what happens in the media rights part of the business. And it's really unpredictable because every 5-6 years things change so much. And you look at 2030, that's kind of a year people have circled where some of the big deals start to come up for renegotiation, So the Big Ten and the SEC, if you look at the last 2 times they've been through TV rights negotiations, that's when they've expanded, because expansion drives more value, drives more money. And you look at what's happening in the congressional bill right now, and there's been a lot of concern with the SEC and the Big Ten about a provision in the bill that limits their ability to expand. So that's been sort of one of the big issues that they've had. So I don't know where all that's going to come out in the wash. I don't think anything's inevitable, but I do think at some point in the future, and it may be, after we're all retired and not doing this anymore, I don't really know. The biggest brands in college sports and college football are going to look at the lesser brands they're in the conferences with and say, why are we sharing the money with you? We're Ohio State. Why should we be subsidizing Purdue's value? That kind of thing. And, maybe they do join up and there's a, 40-team league or whatever. I don't know. I just know media rights and television money dictate so much of it.
So when you have a guy like, and I call games for Utah State, so I've been around Josh Pastner a little bit over the last year, and the dude is Barnum and Bailey. Like, I love him. I love interviewing him because that dude is a salesman. He's always in sales mode. And what he said about UNLV being for sale, and I know that they had to walk it back a little bit, but what he said, if you just listen to what he said, he's not that far off, and it's not that bad of an idea. I actually kind of applaud the way he, put him and his university and his basketball team out there.
Yeah, well, I think everybody understood when he said that, or at least everybody who follows college sports super close, that when he said buy a team, he wasn't literally saying we're selling UNLV basketball to the highest bidder. He's talking about they need a sugar daddy. They need somebody to come in and write him a big check so they can get players. And everybody's in that position. And if you have one person who does that, one person who's capable of, for a program at UNLV's level, spending $10 to $12 million on a roster, Well, that person is essentially the owner. They're the de facto owner, and they're going to have a say in a lot of the decisions. They're going to be sitting front row. They're going to be, in that space. And you come to find out, because I talked to Josh on Monday, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money who would love to be in that position, because I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if they expect some kind of return on investment. But there's a lot of people who, maybe they can't quite afford to get in the game, or they, for whatever reason, it's not like you can just go buy an NBA team or whatever. Like it's hard to do. But, if you can go stroke a check for $15 million and sort of be the main guy who's in charge of one of these college programs, maybe that's just something you really enjoy, a really fun and expensive hobby for somebody who's got way more money than they could spend.
Dan, do you think the expanded playoff has made the regular season more interesting, or do you think it's diminished some of the urgency that we were used to every Saturday?
Well, I think so far it hasn't really diminished it very much at 12. I don't know what would happen if we go to 24. And I do think, there's a number where it does start to impact how people look at the regular season, how we talk about the regular season, maybe even how some teams approach the regular season. And like, for instance, if you go to 24, some of these games that hit, like Ohio State, Michigan, just as an example, that's always been Thanksgiving, right? The Saturday after Thanksgiving. Well, in a 2014 playoff era, you really have to think, is that game best positioned at the end of the season when, often both teams would already be, in the playoffs or have clinched their playoff berth? Or would you rather play a game like that early when it feels like it has more meaning? That's just one example of the kind of maybe reimagining of the regular season that I think would have to happen if it goes to 24, because realistically, just so many games are not going to have the same punch that they do now at 12.
Looking at actual football games and actual football season coming up, the Sorsby thing, I don't know if anybody really anticipated that he'd play before the judge then said he could. And then, of course, obviously that thing went away. But Texas Tech was considered to be the forefront of the Big 12, especially if Sorsby was playing. Now that he's not, and everybody's kind of waiting on Will Hammond to see how well he'll perform and how healthy he is at the start of the season. Where would you put BYU as your number one in the Big 12, or still keep Texas Tech there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that Texas Tech, especially on defense, is going to be quite as robust as they were a year ago when they were really, really very good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, their talent was unbelievable on that side of the ball. I think they're probably downgraded a bit there. The quarterback situation, I just don't know. We've seen a little bit of Hammond, not enough for me to make a definitive statement about what anybody should expect, although I do think they're comfortable with him as the starter. And, I was maybe not quite as high individually on Sorsby as some other people. So I'd maybe default a little bit to Texas Tech. I just have a hard time these days getting my arms around what to expect from almost any team because of the transfer portal and the newness that you tend to get. I mean, yeah, there's some carryover year to year, but it just really feels like everything's up for grabs. And, you look a couple years ago, just as an example, in the Big 12, Arizona State comes out of absolute nowhere to win the conference. Nobody saw it coming, but they did a great job in the portal. And there's always going to be teams like that, that especially in a league like the Big 12 where, maybe the high end is not dominant. It's maybe a little bit more parity in that league. Like, you could see some crazy results, and so yeah. I mean, BYU, Texas Tech, you put them in the bucket up top with maybe a couple other teams. I do think Arizona State's got a chance to be good. Arizona should be good again. But. Yeah, I don't know that Sorsby is a total game changer for me.
Obviously, around here, we got used to rinse, repeat. Kyle Whittingham at Utah, 21 years, loaded team up and go do it. And we've got a new coach here, and obviously Kyle's got a new job. Comments on, I guess, first Utah, your thoughts on Utah with Morgan Scalley taking over, and then, what you've seen and heard from Kyle Whittingham out there at Michigan thus far.
Well, I would say to start with, the overriding thing about Utah is it's just going to be strange, I think, to experience Utah without Kyle on the sideline. And he'd been there for so long, and certainly for me, almost my whole time in the business, really. I mean, I remember covering a game during Urban's, last year there when I was really, really young, and now I'm not so young anymore. So
join the club, dude. It happens.
Yeah, and Kyle's been there the whole time, right? So it's kind of weird. Obviously, Utah's got a lot of confidence in Morgan Scalley. I mean, we'll see, right? This guy's never been a head coach before, so hard to predict. But interesting times in Utah. A lot of changes. The private equity piece that's kind of transforming the department. Like they're on the radar for a lot of different reasons at this point. And then as far as Kyle, I haven't heard much really. I mean, it's been quiet. There's been a lot of other things going on in Michigan over the last few months, and really he's probably kind of enjoyed laying low a little bit. I think they've sort of been the beneficiary of not having the spotlight specifically on football. Now, obviously, that starts to change because we're at Big Ten Media Days, or I'm not physically there, but that's the point in the calendar this week, and so we'll have more expectation on Michigan and sort of what to think. But I thought it was a good move overall by Michigan to kind of bring in a steady, experienced guy. I don't necessarily expect him to be in the job for 7-8 years or anything like that, but why would Kyle Whittingham not do a good job in Michigan? It would shock me.
So Dan, I mentioned my connection to Utah State. They're part of this newfangled Pac-12, which is essentially Mountain West 2.0. And I've been talking to a lot of guys, New Mexico, UNLV, guys that stayed put. And the thought is, it's like, okay, we're going to go through the motions on this, but ultimately we're probably all going to be together again here very soon. In this whole reshuffling thing that I think we all anticipate 2030, 2031, do you feel like we're going to, at least a little bit of common sense will prevail and we'll get a little bit back to more geographical sense?
Common sense in college sports. That's a tough bet to make.
I know.
I think you've heard more coming out lately as people have tried to reimagine and rethink what college sports should look like to try to get back to a semblance of normalcy. You have heard a lot more about geographically based conferences for non-revenue sports, kind of decoupling everything from football, which honestly would be great. There's no reason why volleyball teams and softball teams and in these mega conferences where everybody should be flying 3 time zones. That doesn't make a lot of sense for sports that don't really make a lot of money. I don't know where it's all going to lead. I thought the Pac-12 raiding the Mountain West and kind of only taking the parts they wanted. I mean, I thought it was kind of silly, to be honest with you, because it's basically just the Mountain West, right? Yeah. It's the Mountain West with Washington State and Oregon State. So what have you really accomplished? There's not been very good transparency on the media deals, to figure out if it's really significantly more money for these schools. So we don't really know that yet. I don't know. I honestly believe a lot of administrators at a school like Utah State and a lot of these Mountain West schools looked at it like a branding thing.
Yes,
like going to the
100%.
Pac-12 is better for branding because people remember the Pac-12 as from the way it was. I don't necessarily believe that. I think people look at the collection of schools and say it's the same. So good luck, right? I mean, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, just good luck, right?
Well, no, I wasn't necessarily talking about just, the Mountain West in general, but, you feel like there is kind of this surge, and maybe it's just me wishful thinking that, we get back to UCLA and USC not playing in Rutgers, something that makes a little bit more sense.
Well,
but you're right. Common sense doesn't seem to reign supreme these days.
Well, like USC and UCLA are not going back to the Pac-12. Like,
No. I get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe if the Big Ten expands, like they bring in a Stanford or whatever to try to, balance it a little bit more geographically. But I just think, like, with these mega conferences, the hay's kind of out of the barn, and like they're going to be what they are for the most part. And it's stupid to have these conferences going all the way across the country, but this is the result of bad planning, bad leadership, greed. Like, you can just throw every bad thing in there, and we sort of end up with this Frankenstein system.
The fact that a Tennessee player has to miss the first two games because of a $490 flight, it almost feels like the NCAA is like, hey, we're still here. We can still do things. And they're taking it out on this dude for, probably a Southwest flight paid by his agent, which just, that Coach mentioned earlier in the show, like, this is why we are where we're at today, is because of dumb things like this.
Well, I saw that headline, and I was thinking, like, did I just wake up in a time machine to go back to 2012?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you would see regularly back then. Somebody, a guy named Gene Marsh, who was on the Committee on Infractions for quite a long time, he always had a great analogy that NCAA enforcement is, it's like Goldilocks. The pudding is either a little bit, too hot, or it's a little too cold, and it's never quite just right. And that has always kind of been the case with the NCAA and some of these punishments. They've been so, they got bullied into not enforcing any rules for the last several years. And now they maybe feel like they can enforce some rules, so maybe they're going over the top again, and the pendulum's swinging back to, the porridge is too hot. That's my only explanation, because it does not seem like the punishment fits the crime, given the context of what's going on in the real world of college athletics right now.
So back to the field, is there a team that is either being talked about a bunch or not talked about enough that you got your eye on for the upcoming season?
Interesting question. I was just at SEC Media Days last week, and I was kind of taken aback by just how little buzz there was around Alabama. I remember back in the day, you would go cover SEC Media Days, and Alabama Day was, there was a little extra energy in the air, and, it always felt big. And Kalen DeBoer has kind of made it feel small, and not because he's a bad coach or whatever, but he's more like low key, and he's not the big personality. And his first 2 years they've been okay, and last year they kind of stumble into the playoffs. And so I'm just curious, like, what is Alabama football now, and what's it going to be going forward? And is Kalen DeBoer the guy? And like all of these things, and I feel like this is it's a big year in terms of trajectory and the way fans are going to react to him. And obviously he just got a contract extension, and the school's trying to protect him from the pressure of all that. But it can take on a life of its own. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see, because I don't know what to expect from them.
Mm. Well, Dan, appreciate your time. Good stuff as always. Looking forward to catching up with you down the line.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
You got it. Dan Wolken. He does a tremendous job at Yahoo Sports.
Was at USA Today for a long time. I've read him forever, so it was awesome to have him on the show. You know, to talk to him.
So my grandpa, when he would yell at you, he'd always go, "You crazy Yahoos, knock it off." So every time I reintroduce somebody with Yahoo, I almost say Yahoo, just because that's what my grandpa would say. Like when when he's coming at you with his belt, like, get over here, you Yahoo. I'm like, that always gets me a little PTSD there. But Yahoo Sports.
Now I know how to get your attention when you're not paying attention to me.
Yahoo! You bunch of Yahoos.
Grandpa was a good dude, though.
Grandpa, you know what? Grandpa could come from the grave right now and walk through the door, and he would still scare the bejeebers out of me.
Is this Richard's father?
Yes.
What's his first name?
Melvin.
Love the name.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a Melvin in my lineage.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm. I do. I have a Melvin. My father, actually, who is no longer with us, but he was given the name Harvey, but his middle name was Keith. So he went with that. Well, he left the Harv alone.
Well, my oldest brother is actually Melvin, but his middle name is Kurt, and nobody calls him Melvin.
Well, just get me in front of him, and we'll give it a crack.
I don't know if that probably is such a good
idea. I'll walk in
idea.
and say, Dick, Melvin, how we doing? No?
Yeah,
okay.
I'd probably avoid that one. All right, 12:25. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. 12:31. Lloyd Cole on vacation, so he has forfeited his right to create the playlist. He actually did send one in, but
he had the guile.
Yeah. Be like,
I'm not going to be there at the party,
but I still want my music played.
If you guys could save me some of the pizza and just put it in the microwave when I get back.
Yeah, I won't help you move, but if they do give you some pizza for helping everybody move, then if you could bring that back, that would be awesome.
We give our guy a hard time. We love him. Don't get us wrong. And I did see some really cool pictures you posted yesterday with the boys.
Yep.
Looks like they're having a ball.
At his cabin, his palatial estate.
Is it in Wyoming?
I believe so, yeah. Well, he's
boys were in full Western regalia.
Yeah, even wearing the gloves.
Got work to do out. I'm sure he's got them out there like fixing fences or something on vacation.
I would hope so, because you got to put those kids to work, man.
Well, if they don't, they'll end up like him, because he never works.
With zero work ethic.
Zero work ethic and high expectations.
Oh, man. All right. So, by the way, we had a chance, and I want to replay some of this. I know I'm putting Alex on the spot, but we had a chance to chat with Tony Jones a little bit yesterday. And I want to replay that conversation, at least a portion of that, because Tony Jones just got thrown right to the wolves, man. Just absolutely his world turned upside down. And LeBron James is now part of Philadelphia 76ers. Tony Jones, the beat writer for the Athletic for the Philadelphia 76ers, took that job and thinking, okay, look, I'm going to deal with Paul George in a bad contract, and I'm going to deal with Joel Embiid in the 20 games he plays, and that'll be it. No. All of a sudden, now he's got a title contender on his hands, and LeBron and the circus that comes along with it. I'm very fascinated to see how this team is out of the gate and how they're playing come March, April, because I got to imagine they'll ramp up to the end of the season.
I'm excited that we have a relationship with Tony, that we have him on, and he will be able to give us stuff on how all this goes down all year long. So that will be awesome. He talked about it yesterday, told his wife, not going to be there for Christmas, be really busy, but it's awesome. We have an inside line to what is the biggest story in the NBA, since LeBron made the decision.
Here's our conversation with the great Tony Jones. Philadelphia had a good roster. They had, I think Mike Gansey might be the executive of the year, and he hasn't even been with the team for a single regular season game yet.
Executive of the year off of
the Paul George
1 month. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you look at this, if you look at this off season, and you look at what Gansey and Jameer Nelson, because Jameer Nelson's had a really big part in this. If you look at what those two guys have done, not only did they get the big stuff right, like obviously the Jaylen Brown trade, and then LeBron. I don't want to say falls in their laps because they really worked on the recruitment of him, but they got the small stuff right. They kind of stole Anthony Simons from the Miami Heat. That he was supposed to go to Miami, and Jameer pulled off a really, really good recruiting job to get Anthony to sign with the Sixers. And, and Dean Wade, that was Gansey all the way because those two had a relationship headed back to Cleveland. KCP is LeBron, so we got to give LeBron credit to KCP. But if you look at those two ways, Gansey and Jameer signed Caleb Love and Ryan Rupert, both the two ways. Both of those guys played real NBA minutes last year. Caleb Love for Portland. We know Caleb Love because he played for Arizona. And Ryan Rupert from Memphis. He had a 30-point triple-double in Memphis back in March. So, all up and down the roster, they weren't real. There was a dearth of real NBA players through the depth parts of the roster last year when it came to the Sixers, and they've got real NBA players and real NBA rotation players up and down the roster this year.
What have you been able to glean from the recruiting process and kind of what it went into it? I know LeBron had made comments about things that were important to him, but the way I look at this, I mean, this was his best chance to win for sure.
Well, Joel Embiid promised LeBron that he'd be in shape.
There you go.
That happened. And I'm sure the Sixers fans are now like, so what about the other 11 years? But, that's neither here nor there. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. We had it yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So there was that. But listen, LeBron has been long fond of Tyrese Maxey and vice versa. Those two guys, have worked out for a long time with the same trainer, Chris Johnson. They actually got a workout in yesterday together, and they have been not really talking about playing together because it really didn't seem like it was an obvious thing that would happen. But there's the clutch connection with them as well as with Nick Nurse, obviously KCP. But Tyrese Maxey has been somebody that LeBron has admired for a long time, and I can see LeBron, using Maxey the way that he did, 10 years ago with Kyrie Irving when they were with Cleveland. So, I think that LeBron will be good for Tyrese, and I think that Tyrese will be good for LeBron. And I think that, when you look at Tyrese last year and you watched him last year, yeah, he had a great season, but he was doing it with, teams, really keyed into stopping him. And he's going to have space and, people drawing gravity away from him this year, kind of like he hasn't had in a few years.
So Miami's Miami. It's, a gorgeous place to play, especially if you're wealthy. You got the weather, the city of Miami. You've got the nostalgia factor of Cleveland. Philadelphia look, it's not the best city to live in terms of weather. It has no real emotional connection. It's, I guess, somewhat close to New York, so I guess you can talk about some ties to the Big Apple. But other than that, this seems like it was just about winning for LeBron.
Yeah. The Sixers had the best roster and the best chance for him to win. The only other roster that gave him that kind of chance to win, in my opinion, would have been Minnesota. We all know he wasn't going to Minnesota.
No.
He is not dragging that documentary crew to Minneapolis. So, I think we all said it, and we were still surprised, but we all said it. Like, listen, LeBron is actually serious about winning a championship. He's saying this is about winning a championship and about what his best chance of winning is. It's Philadelphia. Miami's roster is incomplete. Davion Mitchell is the point guard. I love Off Night like a brother, but he's a middling starting point guard. They have a lack of shooting, and then Cleveland has James Harden. And I know LeBron ain't trying to hitch his wagon at James Harden. So if it were about winning, it was Philadelphia. And even under that, guys, I think we were all still shocked that he actually chose Philadelphia because we really underestimated just how much it was about winning. Turned out to be 100% about winning. You know, I thought it was like, you know, hey, you know, 50, 60% winning, you know, couple of percentages where your family wants to live, nostalgia, maybe the opportunity to play with Giannis and, you know, maybe get that roster in enough shape to win in year two. No, it was about winning. And LeBron put his money where his mouth is because he went to Philadelphia, because I think that this is by far the most volatile choice that he could have made. There is a really, really, really high ceiling with the fan base in LeBron about how this can go, but there is a low floor if this doesn't go well.
So back to the elephant in the room, and the elephant would be the 7-foot, 270-pound Joel Embiid, who has played 96 of a possible 246 games in the last 3 years. And, you know, he has had some bad luck with injuries, but I have been one that said he's never been in shape, and I don't know how much he cares. Do you think LeBron can impact that?
Let's put it this way. I mean, if Joel doesn't have his body and, you know, as good a shape as he can possibly get it in this year, is never going to happen. And, you know, this is his best chance to win. Like, the Sixers have this roster has a real chance to win. And I would be surprised if LeBron doesn't play 2 years. I think, you know, I know that the second year is a player option, but I think he's going to give himself 2 years and give himself a chance to really win one. And, you know, this is a roster that is capable of winning it all. I think it's one of the four most talented rosters in the league, and that four being, you know, the Knicks, the Sixers, the Thunder, and the Spurs, no particular order. You know, and Joel, I don't think that this team needs Joel Embiid in the regular season. I think that Joel Embiid can play 0 games in the regular season, and this roster can still win 50 games. But I 100% absolutely believe that this team needs Joel Embiid to win a championship. They need him to be a 16-game player and not an 82-game player. Watching him and covering him last year, he is an incredible offensive talent. I mean, he does things for a 7-footer that no 7-footer should ever in a million years be able to do. And, you know, yet, you know, his body consistently breaks down. There are the lower body injuries. There's, you know, all sorts of health scares. There was an appendectomy, which is just like kind of crazy in terms of how unlucky he has been as well. You know, but this is his chance to like really, you know, buckle down, get in shape, stay in shape. You know, he's not going to play 65 games. He's probably not going to play 55 games. But if you can get 50 games out of him, you know, play 50 games and be in as good a shape as humanly possible for a 16-game run, you know, he has a chance to take this roster to the stratosphere just because of how good, how unique he is offensively. His problem right now is defensively because the lower body injuries have, you know, really robbed him of his lateral movement. And, you know, and that's really hurt him in pick and roll coverage. And the Knicks really honed in on that in the second round last year and just kind of put him in a blender at any chance that they could get. So, you know, that's going to be something that, you know, the Sixers are going to have to figure out, especially if they get the Knicks at some point in the playoffs, or they get a team that has 5 players like the Knicks who can, you know, just kind of all dribble, pass, and shoot and put you in a blender. You know, so it's going to be really interesting to see how Joel approaches this season.
Relatively healthy Joel Embiid with this 76er team against the Knicks in a 7-game series. How do you feel like that goes?
So last year was a sweep.
Yeah.
I would still probably go Knicks in 7. I think that the Sixers do have some advantages this year, which is mainly like last year, the Knicks could hide Jalen Brunson on Kelly Oubre Jr. and mainly get away with it. And they can't do that this year because of just how many great players are in that lineup. That matchup becomes VJ Escom, and VJ will cook them. So that becomes a little bit different. There's no Mitch Robinson, and that becomes a little that's going to hurt the Knicks some because them not having Mitch Robinson coming in off the bench, grabbing every single offensive rebound, blocking shots, playing above the rim. And you're replacing that with Andre Drummond. And, I covered Andre last year. Really, really, really nice guy. He's not Mitch Robinson. So a lot more onus is going to go on the Karl Anthony Towns. I would still favor the Knicks and say the Knicks in 7, but that's a much, much, much closer series this year than it was last year.
I've been talking about the problem that Maxey and Edgecombe are for the league, their ability. They're a dynamic crew. You add Jaylen Brown to that. As about as good a guard trio as exists, I think, in the NBA. Yeah. Your thought?
Yeah. I mean, you can go San Antonio with Fox and Harper and Stephen Castle. But outside of that, I mean, Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Maxey and VJ Escom, that's as good and athletic and dynamic a perimeter trio as you're probably going to get. And I think there's going to be some onus, in my opinion, on, LeBron to just be a playmaker. I think that this is going to be the first time in his NBA life that he does not average 20 points a game in a season. And I think that it's on Joel Embiid to kind of fill in the blanks where needed and let those 3 guys go. Like, let them run, let them cook off the dribble on the perimeter, let them, those guys are durable guys. Let them be regular season innings eaters. And, LeBron and Joel both kind of, fill in the blanks when needed, where needed. And then, those guys can be ready to kind of assert themselves once you get to the playoffs because, Maxey and Jaylen Brown are both in their primes. They're 28-point-per-game scorers last season. VJ Escom is somebody who I think has a chance to be an all-star in this league. And I think it's going to be really incumbent on Nick Nurse to figure out VJ Escom from the standpoint of, blending him in with, the older guys, but also getting him on-ball reps so that he can develop. Because I always thought that, watching him, he has a chance to one day be Anthony Edwards. And, he's not going to have that kind of runway in terms of on-ball usage, obviously. But they still need to get him enough on-ball usage that, he stays on his development path, that he set for himself in his rookie season.
The great Tony Jones with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You've had a chance to watch some Summer League. You saw A.J. DeBonsa. You saw Darren Peterson. You saw some of these other guys. Obviously, people love to overreact over what they saw in the middle of July. But were there some things that you can take away that you can project into the regular season from some of these guys?
Yeah, with Darren, I thought that he was put in a tough spot because he didn't have as many NBA players around him as A.J. DeBonsa and Cameron Boozer. Cameron Boozer had a full lineup of NBA players around him, and at least for that first game, so did A.J. DeBonsa, and Darren Peterson had Cody Williams. So, I think that a lot of people talked about, Darren's turnovers and all of that stuff, but it was just a different deal for him than it's going to be in the regular season. He's obviously going to be surrounded by NBA players in the regular season. He's going to have NBA spacing, and he wasn't afforded that in summer league. That being said, I thought that Darren showed an amazing ability to get to his spots, real ability to handle the basketball. He showed some passing chops, obviously, in the Salt Lake Summer League. He did some really, really good things this summer. AJ DeBanza, I don't think that, we've seen a physical force come into the league from the small forward spot in a while. I mean, he's even more of a physical force than Cooper Flagg is in terms of, rim pressure, playing above the rim and just doing things 6'9", 6'10", that guys his size should not be doing. And Cameron Boozer is as advertised, just a really great intellectual thinker on the floor, terrific rebounder, really skilled, had one of the best summer leagues out of anybody in the NBA. So, it's quite the top three, and I really, really, I'm really looking forward to seeing them translate to the regular season.
There he is, Tony Jones, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Fun conversation with him. And by the way, just for the record, he did say he's still going to come on with us throughout the season.
Yes, he did. And he will be giving us, updates from the goings-on of Philly with LeBron. And everybody's super excited about it. And I think the biggest thing that came out of that, he agreed with me, Embiid's got to be good. Embiid's got to play. Embiid's got to be in shape. And he's promised LeBron he will.
Oh, I'm sure. Everybody can make big promises in July. What happens when everybody shows up in late September for camp?
There's some, it was like my first day when you're like, dude, you're going to do all the streaming thing. You got to drop 20. So I've gotten in line.
12:52. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Sports radio in Utah is right here, right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Alex is patiently waiting for me to give away tickets. He's asked me like 5 times, and I keep forgetting. And that's my bad, because really, Coach and I were just kind of hoping that everybody would forget, and we would take those tickets to go see the Black Crows. But no, we got to give them away to you, the listener.
Fine, Alex.
Caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Will win 2 tickets to the Black Crows. Hey, little thing, let me light your candle, because I'm so hot to handle now. Yes, I am. With special guest Whiskey Myers to the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on Thursday, August 13th. Tickets on sale at livenation.com. You can get your tickets right now, or you can also be caller number 12 and get tickets. Again, 801-575-ZONE.
Remedy. That's my tune.
Yeah? Such a great band. Great band. I can't, look, if they have any amount of the juice that they had in the late 80s and early 90s, that's going to be one hell of a show.
I guarantee they will. I'm going to be there. I'm going to find a way there. Point me in the direction.
Yeah.
Of the amphitheater.
Look, get off your cell phone. You can't be caller 12.
Oh, gosh. I thought I'd change my voice like I did the other day with Bo Nix is a bum.
Bo Nix is a bum.
I will call one time and win and say to Lloyd, tell me where the tickets are first.
Oh, yeah. Lloyd loves that. He's always a big fan.
Yeah, just take your tickets.
He's like, you're caller number 12. Congratulations. Before you give me the tickets, are they lower bowl or upper bowl?
And he's like,
all right, you're done. Yeah. Yeah, that's no go. All right, 1 o'clock coming up next. We'll get a preview of the Kansas Jayhawks. Henry Greenstein will join us. We'll chat with him about KU, what to expect from the Jayhawks in the upcoming season, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the biggest name. You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, kicking off hour number 4 of the program, just past the 1 o'clock hour here on a Wednesday. Your week's half over. Now, as we prepare for the start of the college football season, we take a look at some upcoming opponents for BYU, Utah State as well, and the Kansas Jayhawks are under the spotlight today. Henry Greenstein, kind enough to join us, covers KU. Henry, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. It's always good to be on a KSL program. I'm happy to join you guys. And, man, football season's finally around the corner. It's been a long wait. Last year, KU started fall camp in the third week of July because they had a week 0 game, so it's been a long off season.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of like those week 0 games. Kind of gets us there a little quicker. But Kansas, you know, it's an interesting situation. They showed so much excitement there early on in the Lance Leipold era, and then have kind of come back down to earth. What do you expect out of this squad this year?
Yeah, I feel like the pressure has ratcheted up a little bit, given, you know, that Leipold and his team showed what they were capable of pretty early on, probably earlier than anyone expected in terms of going to bowl games in his second and third seasons at the helm when they previously hadn't been since 2007 and 2008. That was a great accomplishment, but it also set a higher standard. And the fact that, you know, in 2024, when, of course, they went to BYU and won that ridiculous game with the pooch punt. But that was supposed to be their best team. That was the one that was supposed to contend for a conference crown. It goes 5-7. Last year, expectations a little more moderate. Well, they start out 4-2 and then proceed to finish 1-5. So it's been 2 consecutive seasons of disappointment with the same result of falling just short of a bowl game. And now they must proceed forward without Jalen Daniels, who started at least 3 games in each of the last 6 seasons at KU, which has turned the quarterback competition into the dominant storyline of this offseason, which is interesting because I think KU's better at most other positions than it's been in recent years. But the most important one on the field continues to loom large and will undoubtedly receive a lot of attention in the weeks ahead.
So, knowing the program as you do, where do you feel like Kansas perhaps could be better this year? What part of the game can they be better in?
Well, there's a few ways to go with that. One of them, I feel like with the secondary, there's really nowhere to go but up. Last year was DK McDonald's first as a defensive coordinator, and they changed schemes a little bit. They were more multiple in terms of the fronts they used, but I actually thought the defensive line was pretty solid last year. The real weakness was in the secondary. At cornerbacks, they started a true sophomore and a redshirt freshman in Jalen Todd and Austin Alexander. And while Todd was pretty solid overall throughout the year, Alexander was quite vulnerable against a lot of different teams that KU went up against. The hope is that both of them with another year under their belt will look much more capable and be consistent. And KU didn't have a cornerback intercept a pass all of last season, which is just crazy to think about. And so the ability to generate more mistakes from the secondary will be huge. Also last year, part of that scheme change with McDonald was moving to a 5 defensive back look more often. They used to run more of a 4-3 when Brian Borland was the defensive coordinator. They kind of segued into a 4-2-5. Well, the fifth spot, the nickel, the main players they had in mind for it were injured all year, which meant that Todd had to slide inside to play there, which meant they had to put another cornerback who was below the caliber of those two on the outside as well. So tough injury situation there. I think they'll be better at safety this year as well. They've totally revamped that position group with the additions of transfers like Corey Gordon, who previously played at Louisville and Baylor, in addition to Keyshawn Cummings-Coleman from Iowa State, Jaden Harris, who previously played at Miami and Georgia. He was a starter for Miami in 2024. So there's a lot of reason to think they've upgraded there. The other primary position that comes to mind is running back. KU's had a lot of good running backs. Obviously, last time they were out there in Provo, they had Devin Neal, who's the all-time leading rusher. Last year, they had sort of a two-headed monster of Daniel Highshaw and LeSean Williams. And those guys were pretty effective against Utah in that finale. But what they didn't have was a complementary duo. They were very similar kinds of backs. They were bruisers who ran between the tackles. Williams had a little more breakaway speed, but they've never had kind of a thunder and lightning deal like they do this year with Dylan Edwards from K-State and Yasin Willis from Syracuse. So I'm really excited to see how that goes, because especially with Andy Kotelnicki back in the fold as the associate head coach and the offensive play caller. He has a lot of new toys to work with on offense, and I think that can help take some of the pressure off whoever wins the quarterback battle.
I remember Big 12 Media Days a couple of years ago. Jalen Daniels shows up with the chain that has the Apple Watch face with playing his highlights. And it just felt like that he was ready to just take that next step. When you look back at his era, is it, and Kansas fans look back at that era, is it a question of what if or what could have been, or do they still appreciate the career that he had? What are the feelings on him as he departs?
Yeah, the problem is he left such a sour final impression with that Utah game and the 2 interceptions in that one that just totally derailed the chance at a big victory and a bowl win. And I think that really had a large impact on how he'll ultimately be viewed, the fact that he couldn't get them over the hump. You know, early in his career, the story was the injuries. He burst onto the scene with that win over Texas at the end of 2021. Early 2022, when College Game Day came to Lawrence for the first time, he was a borderline Heisman candidate before he got hurt against TCU. Came back at the end of that year, obviously had a great performance in the Liberty Bowl, which they ended up losing in triple overtime to Arkansas. And then, 2023 preseason Offensive Player of the Year. He had the Apple Watch chain, and that's when you get the back tightness. He ended up only playing 3 games that year, and Jason Bean was the hero as KU went on to its best modern era season. And then the last 2 years, beginning of 2024, Jalen comes out incredibly rusty. Second half, he plays great. And then last year, first half, he plays incredibly well. Second half, he kind of declines. So ultimately, he's a top 3 quarterback in KU history, probably. But he's going to be all over the record books and a great team leader who was well regarded here, but I think it absolutely puts a damper on everything.
So Leopold takes over in 2021 after Les Miles was there and won the donut, 0 games in 21. So, or excuse me, in 20. So when Leopold comes in, he goes 2-6-9, and then he's had 2 years of 5. What is the temperature around him? Definitely as successful as Kansas has been since arguably the Mangino days, but what is the pulse around Leopold right now?
Well, frankly, just because of bigger picture factors, I don't know that it's really possible for Leopold to that seat. I think just because, first of all, because of how terrible the program was for the 15 years or so prior to his arrival, but also with the amount he's getting paid, with the amount of money they're having to spend on the stadium, with all the other factors that are requiring additional expenses out of college athletic department right now, I don't think there's realistically a world where KU can fire a highly paid coach in basically any sport. That being said, I don't know. I think the fans are getting antsy, and justifiably so, because the last 2 years fell short of expectations. At the same time, I also think there's an understanding that KU could take a step forward this year in some ways, but it could not entirely be reflected in the final record because of how horrific, frankly, their schedule is. They have very few. They only have 3 conference home games because they forewent one of them to play in London against Arizona State in the Union Jack Classic. And the Middle Tennessee game that they originally had scheduled for that date, they tried to move it to week 0, but ended up having to move it to a random time in early October. So the result is they start out Long Island, Missouri, and then Arizona State and London. And then after a bye week, they play 9 consecutive games to conclude the year, including the entire rest of their Big 12 schedule. So I think there's a very real possibility that this team could be better, but it could be held back by the way the year is laid out. And also, I don't know, there are some inopportune matchups out there. They play some of the new coaches, but they play Oklahoma State in the last week of the year. By the time you have to feel their identity will be settled in more. They play K-State in late October and obviously haven't won there in 17 straight years or whatever it is. Haven't beaten them in Lawrence either, obviously. But the schedule does not shake out very well. And so I can see a little bit of wiggle room in that respect, or a little bit of forgiveness. And also the fact that the quarterback situation is so unsettled, I expect that will hang over the year in some way. So while I don't think the temperature is up in terms of an actual job security standpoint, high as it was a short time ago.
If you had to Brandon Sorsby this thing and put money on, I'm just joking. Sorry, bad joke. If you had to pick a starter who you think will be the guy day one for Kansas as quarterback, who would you go with?
I'd give a slight edge to Cole Ballard over Isaiah Marshall, who's his primary competition. I think it really is even and will go well into training camp. Basically, the way it's been described to me is this. Cole Ballard is kind of like a quarterback from a movie. He's like a rah-rah leader sort of guy. He's very well respected in that regard. And he has a good arm. But he's not as good of a processor in terms of on-field situations. He has slower reactions. Marshall's a better athlete. He averaged more than 10 yards per carry as a designed runner in select packages last year. And, even though he's not kind of, like I said, the same kind of rah-rah leader, he's still well respected by his teammates, but he also doesn't have the same level of arm talent, and that can hold him back considerably. He can't maybe make all the same throws that Ballard can. There was a third guy, Chase Jenkins, who was a Rice transfer, but he's kind of maybe not even really a dark horse, just sort of an outside guy who they'll probably find some way to use because of his talent. But in any case, Ballard and Marshall are the two primary contenders. Ballard's a year older. He's been in more games. He had to start against K-State as a freshman, and they almost pulled that one off. I just feel like his experience and his arm talent will give him a very slight edge, but it's very much still up in the air. And a lot of fans are in the Marshall camp and want to see him ultimately win out because he kind of resembles Daniels more in a lot of ways.
Talk about Calvin Clements. Saw him strutting around Big 12 media days. That's a big dude getting a lot of attention on the offensive line. How good can he be?
Yeah, he's kind of hard to miss, right?
Yeah, he's massive. He's massive.
6'7" and 315, or maybe heavier than that. I don't know what they have him listed at right now. But, he's very well liked around these parts. He's a Lawrence native who went to Free State High School here in town. And he got playing time earlier in his career, but sort of bided his time until he was able to take over as the full-time left tackle last season. And frankly, there were some bumps and bruises. I mean, he had a tough time early in the season. Everyone had a tough time against Texas Tech's defensive ends, but Calvin Clements and Enrique Cruz, KU's tackles, were absolutely devastated in that game. It was probably the worst pass protection performance of Leipold's tenure as head coach. So Clements took his lumps. I think he came out of it a better player. He showed an upward trajectory at the end of the season. And now there's more of an onus on him to be a vocal leader in the offensive line room because guys like Bryce Foster and Kobe Baines aren't there anymore. The offensive line is going to be interesting to watch. The left side of it, I think, can be really good with Clements, who, we talked about the body. He's probably a future pro in some form, especially if he continues to grow. And then left guard Amir Herring, a Michigan transfer, he kind of seized a starting spot right at the end of camp last year and didn't let it go. That's a good start. And then everyone else is kind of new. The center will be Kason Carpenter, an Oklahoma State transfer. He used to play at Tulsa. Right tackle will be Nick Morrow, a Cal transfer who spent 2 years at left tackle for the Bears. Right guard will be a position battle between probably the second most prominent position battle behind quarterback. That'll be Tavake Tuikoavatu and Texas transfer Connor Stroh battling it out. So all that is to say, on the blind side, Clements really needs to offer a level of stability, probably to a greater degree than he even did last year. So absolutely one of the most important players for KU reaching his potential this season.
I've always been a huge fan of that Lance Leipold offense and the misdirection, the play, the read options, everything that goes into it. It's just been fascinating to watch. How much difficulty does that put on offensive linemen, and how difficult is that, especially when you got transfers coming in to adjust to that kind of an offense where you're never really sure if you're an illegal man downfield, if it's a run, if it's a pass, or what's going on behind you?
Yeah, Trey Lathan, the middle linebacker who will be the captain of that defense, said something like that at media days where he was like, sometimes they come out in formations I didn't even know were legal. Yeah. And so you can only imagine what it's like for an opposing defense who's never seen them before. I definitely think with Kotelnicki returning, and once again reunited with Matt Lubick, who is now KU's co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. When he was in his first stint at KU, he was an analyst, and he was actually working remotely while battling leukemia, but he was a big factor in a lot of the option game that KU ran to such a success. So the fact that they now have Kotelnicki, Lubick, and Jim Zebrowski, who was kind of demoted to passing game coordinator after being the OC last year, the fact that they're now all back in the same place provides some optimism they can recapture the offensive magic of the 22 and 23 seasons before Kotelnicki left for Penn State. But in terms of the strain it puts on the players, I kind of asked Andy about that in the spring, because towards the end of his tenure, the narrative was, well, these guys are so experienced, they've been around so long, you can afford to layer more and more wrinkles because to them, they fully understand it. Well, it's not really like that now. To a lot of these guys, this will be the first time they've dealt with Andy Kotelnicki, and the scheme, while similar to what Zebrowski is running, is not exactly the same. So I almost kind of wonder if earlier in the season they might have to be a bit more vanilla than we're used to as they settle in and get people more acclimated before they can kind of bring out a fully realized version of what Kotelnicki's scheme is supposed to look like.
So just quick thoughts on the Big 12. Texas Tech obviously was unbelievable last year. I think you could have said that against every line they played. I mean, I watched Utah and BYU struggle mightily against that front. But with Sorsby not being there and all of the drama, what's your take on the Big 12? How do you believe it plays out this year?
Yeah, I'm still pretty high on them. I mean, I think they can replicate that kind of pass rush with the transfers they brought in Adam Trick and Trey White. I still picked them first we did an unofficial media poll. The Tulsa World ran it. I was one of the voters in that. I still picked them first in there. I think assuming Hammond is healthy, with his ability to run, he gives them a dimension they didn't really have last year with Morton. I assume they'll have to ease him in to some extent. But they bring back a lot of good playmakers like Carter, the tight end, and the running backs, and they've only gotten better at a lot of positions, which is hard to imagine. It's not like they have to play the hardest schedule in the world either. I think BYU will absolutely be up there once again, but Tech is still my pick to win the conference. Beyond that upper echelon, though, it's anybody's guess. I continue to be high on Arizona, even though they lost all the players from their best position group last year to the draft. I'm uncertain about some of the other teams people are putting high up. I think obviously getting Dampier back will help Utah a lot. But there's a lot of new coaches. Like K-State theoretically looks more talented than it was when it had a down year, but it's also got a new coach and new scheme and a guy that KU fans are familiar with, Jordan Peterson, as the defensive coordinator. There are some teams where I'm higher on them than most, like Colorado. I actually think they can bounce back a little bit this year. And there are some teams where I find myself a little lower. Honestly, KU's one of them sometimes, and I usually have Iowa State down pretty low as well in the first year under Rodgers. But, the Big 12 these days is such a black box. You open it up and you have no idea what's going to come out, and I feel like this is going to be another year very much like that for just about any team.
Well, I mean, when a conference looks so bad because Arizona State picked to finish last, ends up winning the thing, that they just completely eliminate the preseason poll because it was so horribly done. Not that anybody was to blame. We all would have done it. With hindsight, this conference is a little upside down. Give me your thoughts, though, on Arizona State. Do you have them kind of positioning up or down?
Yeah, I think I've got them. I'll have to look back at exactly what I did. I think they had them maybe around 6th. They've got quarterback uncertainty as well, but the options they're choosing between are more experienced when you think about Cutter Boley, Mikey Keene, and then, of course, they've got a highly touted recruit as well. I like the Miller kid, who's the transfer from Colorado at receiver. They obviously brought in a former KU safety, Lyric Rawls, which is honestly one of the bigger transfer portal departures KU has had. Not that he was incredible last year, but he played a huge amount of snaps and was kind of a leader on that end. And usually KU hasn't lost a lot to the transfer portal in terms of veteran guys. So that was interesting. But yeah, that game in London will be a tipping point for both teams' seasons. When you look at the level of influence that playing in the Aer Lingus Classic has had on teams in recent years, I think, it's a little different because they play in the week 3 or whatever it is as opposed to week 0. But whatever happens, the team that loses will be judged. The rest, as Lance Leipold said at Big 12 Media Days, the rest of their season will be seen as a consequence of whatever happens in that game. kind of like it was with K-State last year or Florida State the year before that, and so on. So I actually think that'll be a pretty even matchup. I think ASU may have a little more talent at this point. The game 2 years ago in Tempe, the year that ASU was really good, was a thriller. And I'm excited to see how that goes and be over there for that one.
Look, I know you're all about football, but you are here on the air in Salt Lake City. So let's pretend I give you a microphone. You walk on the street there in Lawrence, and you put a microphone in somebody's face that's wearing just some Kansas memorabilia or, paraphernalia, and you say, Darren Peterson, give me your thoughts. What do you think that fan's going to say?
I think it'll be a little bit of disappointment, not just that KU fans didn't get to see him at his best. And I don't think anyone doubts he's going to go on to great things there in Utah. And I think everyone thinks it's a great fit for him. But I think it's going to be a what could have been kind of situation. Because honestly, the best part of the year for KU last season was the part where he was playing halves of games. They went on that huge 8-game winning streak, the one that included the big win over BYU on the 31st and the win over number 1 Arizona. That was during the time where his availability was inconsistent. When he came back, the rest of the team got worse, not through his fault, but the other guys didn't know how to play with him in a complementary fashion. So I think it'll be regret and a what if, and probably, it may have surpassed Joel Embiid's lack of availability in his 1 year at KU is kind of the biggest what if of the Bill Self era. What if Darren Pete, if they had gotten gotten a hold on his creatine levels or whatever. So not that people are bitter necessarily, but I think just sad about how it all turned out. I certainly am sad that I only got to see him play 9 home games here in Lawrence.
Well, if he doesn't do it here, we're going to hold it against you, and we're coming for you. Yeah. So we got you a number, dude.
Although we have gone to every supplement store and banned the sale of creatine. So we hope that there's no creatine available at any place here in Salt Lake City, and just to try to keep our guy off of it as much as possible. So
very smart.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate your time. Great conversation. Let's do this again a little bit later on the year, okay?
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Fun conversation. Talking Kansas football as we get a little bit closer, as you mentioned, to the start of the season. That's Henry Greenstein, covers Kansas for the Lawrence Journal-World.
He was great. Loved him. And
good get, Alex.
Yeah, very, very good get. Kansas, obviously, I said it, I was looking through their wins, and Leopold's taking them, he got them those 9 wins, and everybody was excited. Oh, yeah. It's dropped to 5 a couple times.
I was, too. I was fully on that Kansas bandwagon because, I'm not even going to lie. I would watch, when I was coaching my son's football team, I would watch Kansas games and steal plays because my kids were not very fast. They weren't very athletic. And so what I would do on my team is it was all about misdirection. And so I would sit there and I'd watch Kansas games. I'd be like, okay, we could do that. We could do that. And doggone it, we only had 1 loss that year because nobody knew where the ball was because I was running Lance Leipold plays on my.
I love that.
My kids' 7th grade team. Yeah.
I would have paid to have been there back in the day. You're not coaching anymore, are you?
No. Once the games actually matter, those parents are crazy. I want no part of that. 0 part of that nonsense.
Yeah. Look at what it does to you.
I know.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
That's called parentdom.
Oh man. I mean, I'll be watching games and look, 9th grade frosh games that mean nothing, and these parents are just horrific. I'm like, nope.
You could have given the ball to Billy there instead of Bobby.
Yeah. My kid would have scored. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you think it's fun. You think it's fun standing on the sideline, thinking you got all the answers. This is what you look like afterwards.
There you go. Case in point. Are you kidding me? You look fantastic for what you've been through.
Well, thank you. But it's definitely taken a toll.
All right. We'll spin the wheel. Sports Roulette next. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to spin the wheel and talk some sports. This is Sports Roulette on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, It is time for another edition of Sports Roulette. We take some of the big storylines, we put it on a roulette wheel, we spin it. Wherever that little ball lands is what we end up talking about. Alex Napolis doing a tremendous job filling in for Lloyd Cole. In fact, let's be honest, he's exceeding the job done usually by... I'm kidding.
Oh, of course he is.
But no. Lloyd's not listening. Lloyd's somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming.
He's resting on his laurels like Joel Embiid. He got his MVP.
Lloyd Pip over there.
He's being pipped.
Getting pipped as we speak.
And we're not talking about Gladys Knight and said pips. We're talking about Wallace.
No. Not taking that midnight train to Georgia. No, sir.
Not anytime soon.
By the way, all right, don't look at him. You and I are going to wager if Alex Napolis knows who Wally Pip is. Are you going to say yes or no?
No.
I'm going to say yes.
I do know who Wally Pip is. Yeah. Well, and funny enough, it came from Lloyd, who told me who Wally Pip was and all that.
Well, so Wally Pip just Wally Pipped himself. He's like, yeah, I guess I am Wally Pip.
That's called foreshadowing.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's go ahead and spin that wheel.
Cousins over Mendoza.
Oh, your guy Fernando can't even win the job.
What are you talking about?
Clint Kubiak makes a big announcement opening up Raiders camp.
There's battles everywhere on the roster, so it's important for me to be fair to the players is to put the best player out there. When we go out to practice tomorrow, Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback. He's the guy, and he's going to get a ton of reps, and he deserves them because he's played really good football. But I want Fernando and I want Aiden to push him.
Oh, Fernando.
You don't take the number one pick to sit him.
Can you say bust already? Can we say that?
He must have been horrible in OTAs.
Where's Lloyd? Oh, I want Lloyd here. I want Lloyd here so bad. It's the only time I'm going to say this all week. I want Lloyd here.
Should we call him?
Look how, he didn't even let this thing go into camp. He's like, nope. Kirk Cousins is our starter. Wow.
That actually, I'm just a new Raider fan, but that one hurts. That one, I'm not going to lie. I can't imagine how Lloyd would react, but come on, Clint. Think bigger, bro.
And the interesting thing too is, he's the son of Gary Kubiak, and Gary.
He's holding the Broncos down. He's still got Broncos on his mind.
I think that's what he's doing. He's like, okay, what can I do to mess with to help out the Broncos here?
I watched Gary Kubiak play. That's how old I am.
Oh, I watched him play too. And in fact, there's a couple of games. I mean, he was always in Elway's shadow, but every now and then he'd come in and help you win a big game.
He's usually just had a big old chaw in his mouth.
Oh yeah, no, he did. Well, he's a Texas A&M guy.
That's right.
All right, spin it.
Asiata DUI.
We talked about this is the time of year where, unfortunately, those things kind of happen. And right now, BYU backup linebacker, according to Jay Drew, who reported on this in the Deseret News, BYU backup, I'll just read it verbatim from Jay's piece. BYU backup linebacker Ephraim Asiata arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence, producing a fake California driver's license, and was booked into the Utah County Jail earlier this month. He was on BYU spring roster as of March. They had not published the fall roster as of yet today, but apparently, and BYU puts out, by the way, this is such the boilerplate thing when somebody does something bad. BYU football program aware of the situation and currently under evaluation by the university. And that's, look, there's not much else to say. But a tough deal, if true. It's a rough deal, and he's got some work to do.
So I will just add that I think the biggest thing here is, and we talked about it the last 3 days. I mean, you gotta think about this stuff. I mean, the hard part about this one is he was in such a tough deal he was the kid that got shot at Hunter High School. So I just pray for him. I hope he can figure it out. But it's not the end of the world unless you make it the end of the world. And so we'll see how things kind of rectify. But I'm with you, BYU. The boilerplate statement until we hear more.
Yeah. By the way, remember, he's still a minor, too. So he's got possession, consumption of a controlled substance by a minor. And again, driving without a license and failure to operate within a single lane. So, tough deal for him. All right, let's go ahead and spin it.
Cole Bishop, the most interesting man in the world.
All right, so this video coming out of Buffalo training camp. So all these guys come back from their summer vacations, if you will, their time off, and they're asked what they did during the offseason. Well, apparently former Ute safety Cole Bishop is, as I think it's well put by Alex, maybe the most interesting man most interesting man in the NFL.
What'd you do this summer?
I went base jumping with Cole Bishop in Moab, Utah.
All right, what'd you do this summer?
Actually, Cole Bishop invited me to bungee jump in Iceland.
Cole Bishop had me on his yacht. It was a great time.
Party with Cole on his yacht. Me and Cole, we went on the golf course. He took me on the boat. He even put me on his private jet one time. He told me not to tell nobody.
I didn't know Cole had a private jet. Had Rio, he had his own spot out there. He got his own villa. I think it's like 6 houses. I think he's trying to buy a beach out there. I didn't know he was balling like that, but hey.
Did some humanitarian work with Cole Bishop over in Uganda. We built some schools.
Cole, he FaceTimed me. He's like, hey, man, let's hang this afternoon. One of the best days of my life.
Cole's in the Netherlands, and Cole's DJing, and he did this whole set where he was going. And Cole cut his hair.
Fine dining.
And on the third tee box, guy passed out in the woods. Cole in his bag has smelling salts, cracks it, and then the guy gets up and finishes the round with us. Like Bishop is a hero.
2v1 basketball with Cole versus Aiden Cole. Cole Bishop came, flew in, picked me up on his private jet. We went to the white party together, and I was just thinking, damn, God forbid a white boy get a little bit of emotion.
Hey, what'd you do this summer?
Nothing.
By the way, that was to Cole Bishop there at the end.
Nothing. That was well done.
That was very well done. Very well done. Yes, Cole Bishop, the most interesting man in the National Football League. Who knew the former Ute was the man like that? Humanitarian missions.
Smelling salts in a golf bag.
Smelling salts on a golf bag.
I gotta think bigger.
That's awesome.
I do keep like a EpiPen. No, I don't.
All right, let's spin it.
An update from KC.
Yeah, we talked about this story yesterday, and it's certainly a sad and a horrific story, but a positive update. Chiefs coach Andy Reid updating the condition of Mia Bieniemy, the wife of offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, who was allegedly shot multiple times by the couple's son on Sunday night. Andy Reid said, quote, "She's doing great. She's doing better and great from where she was. She's out of the ICU. She's making progress, so we're very, very happy about that." And Reid asked if there's any timetable on Bieniemy's return. He said the important part that's taking place here, Eric's a big part of this. We love having him here, but it's important that he takes care of his business, and everybody knows that. Eric will be back soon enough to jump in there and do his thing, but he's got to take care of his family first, which obviously is 1,000% accurate. So, again, an ugly situation, could have been far, far worse, and fortunately, Eric Bieniemy's wife is doing much better and out of the ICU and expected to get back on the path of recovery.
Will you roll that one more time? Bless her, too. Bless her.
All right. Again, spin it.
NCAA is feckless.
They are, and we talked about
the word
this
of
one.
the day is feckless.
But if it's so bad and it's so stupid, I feel like we should talk about it twice.
Yeah.
With all the millions of dollars being transferred from one guy to the next.
Yes.
Guys asking if university programs actually could be for sale. And we're going to, as an NCAA, suspend a linebacker over a $427 flight. You just can't get out of your own way, can you?
Arian Carter will miss the first 2 games of the season for accepting a $470 flight from an agent after he declared for the NFL draft. So he declared for the draft aggravated the injury, needed surgery, so he then decided to return to Tennessee for another season instead of hurting his draft stock. So he decides to go back to Tennessee. While he had declared for the draft, he did accept a flight that was paid for by an agent. And because of all of that, he will miss the first 2 games of the year. Josh Heupel said, look, he disengaged from the agent, repaid him for the flight back in January. But the NCAA finally saying, oh, we can do something now, guys. We can do it. Let's do this. They make this poor kid miss the first 2 games of the year, which is
I would
just
love
ridiculous.
if he went and got an injunction.
Oh, I would too. Go find Sorsby's lawyer, find Sorsby's judge, and just go sue the crap out of the NCAA.
Is that the camera? I think that's the camera. Let me just
that's your camera.
I'm going to look right into the camera.
All right. Here
NCAA, you're spineless, and you're feckless, and you're idiots, and you're the reason we are where we are right now in college sports. So thank you guys for taking all the money all these years, building the big buildings, and doing absolutely jack.
What he said. I concur. There you go. Yeah, that's one thing that brings everybody together. NCAA. What did remember Brian Bosworth when he was in college and he wore that shirt on the sideline that said National Communist against athletes?
That was it. I was so into Boz that I kept
Did you
those
do the hair?
Oh, yeah. I'll show you my
nice.
senior picture. I got a line in it.
Nice.
And on certain days, I'd paint it.
Brian Bosworth, the Boz, just took the world by storm, and then he got dump trucked in Seattle by the greatest running back, or maybe the greatest athlete of all time, Bo Jackson, and then we never heard from him since. Until, by the way, and you know who Brian Bosworth is, Alex, right?
I do not know.
Okay, all right.
Yes, you know.
You will know here in a second. He's the sheriff in those Dr. Pepper ads in the fan things, Fan Nation, whatever spots I do. He's the sheriff. That's one of the greatest college linebackers of all time, Brian Bosworth. And people don't understand how good he was. He played at Oklahoma. He was an absolute menace. Went to the NFL, and then played for the Seahawks, and injuries, and then got embarrassed by Bo Jackson on national TV on a Monday night game. And then the next thing you see him is he's showing up in commercials for Dr. Pepper.
I thought that was just like a random actor.
I know, right?
I didn't realize it was a player.
He actually he does a pretty good job.
Do you realize he went in the supplemental draft?
Yeah, because the NCAA was going to suspend him.
That's right. So born in 1965, Brian Keith Bosworth, and he was a bad mamma jamma.
That was the first autobiography I ever read of an athlete. And let's just say that he went into very distinct details of what went on there in Oklahoma. And, there was a good time to be had by those Oklahoma players back in the 80s.
He was a throwback to Jim McMahon, kind of that renegade. Yep. Jim said his favorite day in Provo was when he saw it in the rearview mirror. He literally said it.
Oh, boy.
And, I don't know that I argue too hard now that I'm in Salt Lake. Nothing against you down there, folks, but this is a good spot to be.
Well, I mean, look, it's the commute. It's all about the commute.
Yeah, just ease of my life.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
That was a fun show today. Good stuff.
Covered a lot of ground. Talked NFL, NBA.
Yes.
College football, even down to the level of Kansas in the Big 12. And we had Dan Wolken on. I love that. I was going to talk to him like his name was Christopher Walken. So what do you think of the season this year? Do you feel like it's going to be a good one, do you?
What's your dad did to give you this watch to you?
One of the greats. He just does it his way.
Yeah. His cameo. Well, I guess not a cameo, but his spot in Pulp Fiction kills me.
Unbelievable.
Just unreal.
I loved his Saturday Night Live appearances because he's just so awkward and good at the same time. So not, Dan, don't call me Christopher Walken. All
right, so back at it tomorrow. We got another busy show as Our guy Alex is already putting in the work. We will hear from Stuart Mandel. Also, the Hammer, John Wilner, will join us as well. Nice. I like John Wilner. Have you had a chance to chat with him yet?
I think we did. I did one time over at Dally when you weren't there.
Oh, okay.
At the Mazda.
Yeah, John's a guy that he's got great info, and he's got opinions as well.
The Hammer.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around. Stuart Mandel, great conversation. And these guys can really break down what we're looking like in the Big 12, too, because there's one thing about this conference that we know is that we don't really know anything. Like Texas Tech could just win the thing and go 12-0. They could go 7-5 without a quarterback. Utah could win the whole thing. Arizona State could win the whole thing. BYU could go 11-1. I don't think BYU has it in them to go 6-6, but BYU, there's injuries, somebody's expected to be good, won't be good, and somebody who's expected to be bad will be good, and it's just trying to figure out who those teams are going to be.
And that's the beauty of a season. It's awful when you're in the midst of it, but there's lots of variables. Guys getting hurt, and guys not playing up to the par, and so guys that surprise you, that find a way onto the field. So 30 days, man. Tomorrow when we take the air, we'll be in the 20s. And we'll be down in Provo tomorrow.
Yes. BYU, their football kickoff. We'll have a bunch of interviews as well. So we're excited to hear from, I'm sure Kalani Sitake will join us. We'll have a chance to catch up with other players and coaches throughout the day. So we'll be down there starting with DJ and PK all throughout the day. And so get your BYU fix coming up tomorrow.
Love you, B.
Love you, B. Coming up next, it is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts, Coach?
Are you getting your lumber today?
I might submit my request for lumber. I am building a shed in my backyard, and I think I'm getting close. We've been negotiating. I'm trying to get the cost of lumber down. Apparently, trees are in demand. I don't know if that's because we ticked off Canada. I don't know what's going on, but lumber prices are exorbitant. We got to stop this. It really matters when it affects me and my pocketbook.
I mean, not until. I will just add that if you need a stooge, just somebody to balance, like if you need to lean lumber up against me or something while you work, just know you've got a day out of me when you need me.
It's interesting when you think like, some people are like, I'm going to build like my daughter a dollhouse, or I'm going to build a doghouse I'm like, no, I'm going to build a 160 square foot shed in my backyard.
For the most important things in my life, my gardening tools, because without them, there would be no yard.
Exactly. This is all just trying to keep the legend of the yard going. I can't imagine this is that hard, though. Really, like there's nothing YouTube and some online plans. Like I can, I got a circular saw. I can cut and drill and hammer with the best of them. Like it shouldn't be that hard.
I just hope the wood doesn't end up like that Wang Chung cassette you bought earlier that you had to throw away. Wang Chung in town tonight with Howard Jones, by the way.
Wang Chung
and Modern English. So it's an 80s fest out there at Maverick.
I had no idea that Wang Chung was still with us, but yep, everybody Wang Chung tonight. All right, that wraps it up for us. Jake and Ben coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Love you, B.